Ujai, and welcome to the Get It Gates podcast. We're here back with you guys with another episode, but we are lucky enough to have a very special guest with us. But before I get to introducing our guest, I would like to take the time to really acknowledge the forces in the non-material, particularly all the great ancestors that are standing behind this work, and all of our ancestors, every one of our ancestors, the listeners' ancestors, my ancestors, Tati's ancestors, Kaja's Ariman's ancestors, Kenny Bashu's ancestors, Taj's ancestors, everybody's ancestors gets a shout out, like Oprah. And we do that because we really want to acknowledge the way that the ancestors work in the invisible world, because we say that the ancestors in the ancestral realm all work together. So none of us would be able to cross paths if our ancestors didn't come together at some point or another. So really to acknowledge all the forces that are standing behind the Earth Center, standing behind all of the great work and all of the traditions back home, all of the wonderful traditions that we have back home, all of the forces of nature, the deities, the genies, all of those things. And with that being said, my name is Tatia Mahekwan Amir. I'm here with my co-host,
Kaja's Raymond Kebtah.
And we are so wonderfully excited to welcome Tati to the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's an honor.
To be here too.
It's an honor. And all right. So we are very, very lucky to be joined by Tatia, and she does a bunch of different things that we're going to get into and talk about today. But we were actually just talking off camera, and Kajizum was saying that we were, we'll do a word from our sponsor before we get into rapid fire. Normally I'm used to doing that now, but we'll do it later. So we were talking off camera, and we were saying that we were talking about, because Tati's from Georgia, and we were
not Atlanta, by the way.
Yeah,
we have to make that clear,
yes,
because people don't know it's an actual
true.
Other place. Yeah,
we're talking about the country in Eastern Europe. Mm-hmm. We're not talking about the country in Eastern. Not the country. We're not talking about the state on the Eastern Seaboard in America. Two different places, completely different places, and we were talking about just a few things, but I was saying that how it's, I was asking like how close is it to Turkey? Because my dad's mom is from Turkey. Okay. And so that's why I was asking, because, it's like the only connection I have to your part of the world. Okay. And she was saying that Georgia is the eastern or the most eastern country in Europe, and it's very close to Asia. And I was saying how I very much have an appreciation for Eastern European countries because they're very similar to Africa in the way that the culture is very much cultured, and that it's a very much principle-driven society, in that there's a certain way you carry yourself, certain things you do, certain things you don't do. The culture is centered around, things like, coming together, hospitality, and there's just like very simple things that you can see in people from time to time that you understand that they're coming from a very cultured place. And we were talking about particularly like something as simple as, our kitten seems to be in heat. So we have a kitten. Cat. Yeah, that's the kitten.
It's so cute.
We have a kitten. We have a kitten in the temple, and the kitten is, I think, going through puberty right now. And what we were saying was that you can see it in little things like maybe when someone's doing something, another person comes and helps out with what they're doing. And
without asking.
Thank you. Without asking.
Yeah.
And that's really the kind of the tell when you're dealing with somebody from a cultured place. And, I don't know how much, what would you say are some of the differences that you've noticed being here in America. And when I know you grew up in Georgia, but how long did you grow up in Georgia before you made it out here?
Okay. So I came here when I was 17 years old.
Okay.
I'm 30 now. So that was in 2000.
We weren't going to ask you.
That's okay.
Yeah, the way you said it was like, I got to say it.
I take pride in looking young and being in 30s. So
Yeah.
30's not old.
Yeah, 30.
so-
I'm not old, but I'm right there. I'm moving on from 20s. It was interesting
Damn,
chapter.
Tatia, yeah.
But coming from Georgia to here at 17 was, I don't know, I was very confused. I don't know if I ever wrapped my head around it then, rather than in my late 20s thinking back of what happened. But from teenaging to early 20s, I was just in this storm of
Were you in high
change.
school? You were in high school at that time when you arrived, right?
I went to high school because I actually didn't speak English. So I was supposed to be senior, but they put me in junior year, and I graduated high school when I was 19 because I took junior and senior in high school in Florida.
So how were you taking classes if you didn't speak English?
I could read and write, but talking was really hard. Understanding how people spoke really fast, that was really hard. But going to school, and I became friends with a couple Russian girls, and
Just open the door. Oh, okay. Sorry.
no, that's okay. So, anyways, differences, cultural.
Well, what was it like? Like, what made you move from? Like, what was the
Well-
move from Georgia to Florida? Because that's a pretty big. That's huge.
Okay, so my family was actually devastated. My family pretty much broke in pieces. My dad had a gambling issue, and he lost everything we had.
Tati, you have a openness of sharing that I just was
course.
not expecting you to say.
You want to
that.
make this interesting or
go,
what?
Go for it. Go for it. I was like,
I can really appreciate Tati.
Yeah,
she
I'm
doesn't
telling
hold
you,
anything back.
I appreciate Eastern Europeans.
I mean, I have a story. I have like your kitty. I have so many lives that I lived and so many chapters that changed me, how I was, and to be here, I had to go through many different types of life in many different types of places and types of friendships and people. And moving here was, I'm still processing it. I think I did very, very thoughtless things like get married and just fall in love with the jock guy in high school, with which we barely spoke the same language, but he was cute, and all this stuff. Very, very silly stuff that I did when I was
Classic
17, 18.
Eastern European
American
story.
dream. That's what you were thinking. You come here and football players, and oh my God, and everybody's talking about you in high school, and it's like a highlight. It was very silly.
So was that like a TV thing? Like you saw it on TV, so you was like, oh, this is real life. So I'm here in America now, so now I can like get this thing.
America is still it's pretty much it's broadcasting worldwide, and it's showing the rest of the world what the future is going to be for them, type of thing. This is the American dream. This is what the trends are. People are kind of dreaming of American-looking boys and this type of high schools and all this. This is what people are.
We need to go to Eastern
dreaming
Europe.
of.
Bro. Yeah. I don't know if they're dreaming of us, but we need to go.
But to answer your question, the cultural stuff came from there. I never really got any culture from here. I didn't need it. I'm full of culture, but what I did get from here is work ethic, discipline, professional relationships, and the kind of stuff that you don't really have there because it doesn't really exist. The workforce is on a really low level. Nobody really works. Most of the people, families hang out in the yard, playing cards, visiting each other, having little get-togethers, dinners, all this. But having a job is not anybody's highlight, really. Maybe like 5%, 10% of the whole country's, but it just, jobs are not there. Economic really sucks. So people just hang out most of the time, and that's where the culture comes in. That's where you have dances, songs, you create arts, crafts, we just really hang out a lot of the times because we have time for it. We can't really afford the luxury, and it's not about luxury life, but luxury comes in small moments of being together and all this little family gatherings.
You said something really interesting. You said you were never really concerned with the culture out here because you were full of culture. What do you mean by that? Because I feel like a lot of people that grow up in America don't understand the kind of lack of culture in America because they're so used to thinking that there's a culture because everything is kind of centered around the political views that you have.
Or just what's popular.
Exactly.
Really.
Yeah.
And I want to really, just to add on to what Tutips is asking, I think it's interesting from this perspective, right? Getting somebody from Eastern Europe to talk about this, because when most people think of Europe, they think of, maybe England or France, what we call the common white person.
Right.
Finland.
So Finland. So to get a perspective from somebody not from those places, and to see how, it kind of changes the mentality a little bit about, okay, what exactly is a white person?
Yeah.
And how do white people even view other white people?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean by
You
you
know-
don't have culture here? Like, you weren't concerned by it. That's a very interesting and confusing question for a lot of people.
If you're filling out any kind of form at the doctor's office or something, and then you have to circle, I circle
Race.
white, but Caucasian white, right? I'm literally from the Caucasian mountains. The white people are from the Caucasian mountains. That's like what it's known for. It's very, very old country with very old culture. And the culture, what is the culture is just the way they carry themselves, the way they dress, the way they sing, the way they eat, the way they sit down and communicate, the way they give each other time, being here, I never really saw that in any American family. Like, it's very generic, like dinners all look like each other, or the conversations are very basic and generic. I'm not trying to downgrade American.
We are. We are. Yeah. Don't be shy.
It's just
You already told us about your dad's skeletons in his closet, and now you're afraid of the Americans.
No. I'm not not at all afraid of anything. It's just I know that you cannot really look down at somebody if they really don't know what's up.
Wow.
I like that.
Wow. This.
Damn, that's a good way to put it.
Okay.
So I can compare because of how much colorful life I grew up around and how diverse everything was. Because actually the country itself, it's so diverse. It's high mountains and the seaside and the villages, and so many kids just wear freely, and it's pretty free to go outside. There's not that much theft or robberies or killing. It's just a pretty safe place. So we're just outside experiencing life from such an early age. At 13, I was already out and about on my own doing stuff. But here, 13 is a kid,
Yeah.
A 13-year-old boy is a kid, where they're 13, 14, and 50-year-old old guy. He has to have respect, and he has to have a lot of things on his shoulders. He has to go with his boys and meet up with another boys and on the street and discuss some important matters and stuff at 13 and 14, and this matters. And at 12, I look up to these guys and I'm falling in love at 12. It's just life starts earlier there. So by 17, when I moved here, I had already lived so much. 5 years of already like waking up to the world and having my own individual life. And also because my family was breaking down, I had so much free time and I really didn't have to answer to anybody. It was my grandparents, but you know, I do remember my grandma chasing down the street with a broom, like, come back home.
Oh, wow.
No. But
Sounds like an African grandma.
yeah, I was
with the
definitely
pointed
wild.
broom.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely wilding out from early age.
So when you say, because you said something interesting in there, you said like at the age of 13, like you can already kind of be like understanding what responsibilities are
Yeah.
and things like that. And you said that like at the age of 13, you'll have kids out there like seeking respect. What do you
Yeah.
mean by that?
Yeah, so there's a street respect, right? There's sorry, it's not mob and mafia, but it's more like how guys, men do the right thing or talk the right thing or they make the right moves. Just there's clans and crews and all these different guys hanging out in each yards, and then from these yards something happens from one boy to another, so then this whole crew has to go over there with another crew, and then at 13
Exchange.
and then sometimes this does end up, you know, somebody stabbing somebody, and from very very
It got
young
dark fast.
age yeah, I mean it can. They Georgian men, honestly, Georgian men are very like wood-headed. Honestly, all they care about is just having the respect from another man, and that's pretty much it. The brotherhood matters the most, more than your family, more than your sister, more than your wife and a kid. Your brothers are your right hand, left hand, everything.
It's interesting because here in America, most people would consider that to be like what toxic, like
Yeah.
toxic masculinity or like
Absolutely.
patriotic or whatever.
Yeah.
But in Eastern European countries, in African countries, Caribbean countries, for us that would just be like a man just becoming a man. Because you
Exactly.
need to stand on certain values and certain principles to know how to fit and know how to survive.
Yeah.
Because like for myself, right? I saw my 11, 12, I think he's 12, 12-year-old cousin with a machete.
When?
Recently when I went
when you
back.
were there.
Yeah, when I
Yeah.
went back. We're hiking up the mountain. This guy is the one leading us. Because, you know, we're like, we haven't
12.
been there in
Yeah.
we haven't been there in a while, you know, so we don't really know the layout of the mountain anymore.
Yeah.
So he's the one leading us with the machete, chopping bushes and like cutting the way and like showing
Shame.
us out.
Shame on you.
Yeah, it's definitely
Yeah,
shame on me because
you.
it's like,
Yeah.
wow, I came
Yeah.
to America and America's kind of made me soft. And I'm just
Yep.
kind of saying that to say, like, in Eastern European countries, it seems like it's almost the same thing. It's like you have to have some kind of like resilience or toughness to you.
Which family gives you, and the street gives you that, and being outside and being in wild and being on your own does that to you. And here, don't really see that. You know, yeah, it's kind of men are not as
Say it.
they're not as like you know, they're not shields for you
they're
like
not
for
men.
sisters and mothers. They're kind of soft, like you said, you know, a bit. I do notice that. I can't say that about everybody, but mostly yes. More like
Well,
little boys.
Do you think, let me ask you this, do you think it's intentional in America to kind of like make men soft? Because it seems like, you know, there's a lot of, like, where do you fall on, I'm going to take it here, right? Where do you fall on like the changing of like your gender and like LGBTQ and those arenas, like those channels? Because I can't imagine that being something too wide
Over there,
in Georgia.
it's not.
So where do you
Yeah.
fall, and why would that be something that's not as wide or, you know, open or mainstream in a place like Georgia?
Okay, so here, families are pretty much giving you options. If you want an option to study this, do you want an option to study this language? Do you want to go to this class? You don't want? Oh, okay. What do you want? Here, you know? So what do you want is a highlight from when you're young here. That's what I've noticed. But over there, you don't have that option. you are being told what to do, and you gotta do that. Doesn't matter how much you're gonna tear and cry, you gotta do it. So at age 6, I don't care for learning Georgian, Russian, English, going to dance academy, music academy, and at the same time trying to practice everything, do the homework, go to the yard, play, all that stuff, and then learning science and religion in the 2nd grade. Here, those are they're options. Nobody's gonna make you do all this stuff. Maybe 1, 2, 3% of the families will, but yeah, this is America. This is huge population we're talking about here. So having to do, if you want to do something, then you grow up with that mentality, and then yes, you're gonna do. And I'm not against that at all. I do think that people should become whoever they want to be. I may be contradicting myself here. I am super thankful for the skills that I got from when I was a child, and I'm super thankful for my family not giving me the options of, do you want to study piano? Because I would have said, no, I don't want it. But now I play, and it gives me so much pleasure. So, I don't know. It's definitely like how you grow up, how you're brought up, and how does your family treat your wants and needs. But about, now let's go to the other side of this. Georgians are not very much fan of, the population splits in half, I would say. If not half, at least 30-70. 30% is very open-minded, young, and they're okay with trans, and anything, whatever you want to do, because, we have a big underground scene, so party scene does that, like, awakening of mind and openness to whatever. But then the rest is this strong Georgian man who, and priests, they will come out, and the priests will tell these guys, get your tools, and don't be afraid to beat them. Like priests will say this.
Catholic priests, or
we're Georgian Orthodox.
Okay.
It's like Greek Orthodox.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So it's that I don't want to see.
Like, what kind of tools are we talking?
I don't know. We don't play baseball, but anything you find that you can hit with.
So they're just
two by fours, knives.
Go get weapons.
Yeah,
and
definitely not like knives, and don't like. But there was Pride, for example. Pride this year, Pride last year.
In Georgia.
In Georgia, they're trying to make it, and then there's a movement that they're trying to bring it up and make it go to the avenue and walk down with the rainbow color flags. But then there's hundreds, if not thousands, of men from each small corner of the streets coming to attack and break this pride down. And they're burning the flags, and then they're climbing the apartments where they see on the balconies if there's flags, and then they're taking it down like they're monsters, they're beasts, It's like a big Georgian, like, rugby player kind of guys. You don't want to fuck with them,
You can curse, it's fine.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
But it's here.
Yeah.
So it's pretty half and half right now, and I really hope that, I just don't want to see anybody getting hurt. I don't want to see suffer. I just want that even those people to understand that it's okay to let somebody become whoever they want to be, that it's no direct threat to you, but what they think it's threat to the culture.
I say, you had said something in the beginning about how America has this way of marketing itself to the entire world.
Yeah.
So would you say culturally, right, Georgia as a entity, as a place, does not accept that because it's against its traditional values and its traditional principles?
Half and half.
Because what you're saying essentially is that, 30-70, right? What you're saying essentially is that it's very family orientated. Yeah. So if something comes to attack that family orientation, obviously they're going to have a reaction. So would you say that there's an influence from political forces, maybe from like countries like America, who are trying to influence that population of Georgia to now change their traditional values or change the trajectory of how the society views those kinds of things?
Would you say that influence for the 30% is what Kaji's agreement is touching on, in terms of it coming from a Western influence? Because if it doesn't exist and it's very much like kind of rooted in the culture, like where it's like we're gonna go out and protect ourselves from this. So we're gonna go out and we're going to not allow this thing to kind of like infect the communities. I don't want to say infect, but you know what I'm saying?
It's a proper word for it.
Like, where would you say the influence for that infection to start comes from?
I don't think it's just America. I think most of Western European countries also, but also Western European countries take example from America too. So I would say that America has been the main infector.
Culprit. Yeah, infection. Yeah.
But but at the same time, if you take any individual from those like right-handed, those strong Georgian men, and then you ask them any logical question about their religion or what they believe in, they have no clue. They're wood-headed. They don't understand. There's some really, really funny pictures of them breaking down the Pride Festival, and they will steal yoga mats and Coca-Colas and put them in their pockets. Kind of like straight out of...
Yoga mats?
Yeah, they will...
Like big-ass yoga mats and put them in their pockets? How big are these Georgian men?
They gotta be huge.
Like, what are they, like giants?
No, I said they'll put Coca-Cola in their pockets.
I'm like, God damn, how big are these men that they can flip yoga? I'm like, I'm never going to Georgia to piss off any of these guys.
Yeah, it's really not a pretty sight to see. For you to be protecting your culture and you think you're right, but then you're going and you're stealing from somebody else something beautiful that we're gonna do with no harm to anybody. It's just, if you really question them and their values, they're gonna contradict themselves really, really hard, and they won't. They're just gonna curse you out, be like, go to hell, and turn around and don't even talk to you because no point. So that's hard to see for me, as those are Georgian people and those are people I grew up around, and maybe my uncles, and they're like that too. And that's why I have really hard time communicating with a lot of people back home, unless it's young people like my friends.
But would you say, do you know like a specific point in time where that kind of culture started to come around? Like, do you remember a specific time where it wasn't around and then it started to come around?
I would say maybe mid to late 90s. There would be already like TV shows like in America, like if girls and boys are living together in an apartment and who's gonna stay as a surviving like the best, la la la.
Oh, you
and
mean like game shows?
Yeah, like if they're
like reality
like a
shows,
Jersey Shore
like
type of
Survivor,
thing. But then they would take all this from American style, and even Friends, the show from Friends, or the Ugly Betty, or all these like big things that would be happening in America. They would take it, even songs. They wouldn't make any songs like pop songs in Georgia, but they would take this and translate it and make a Georgian lyrics to it, but pretty much have a karaoke singing. So taking really just American stuff, but this was really happening in mid 90s, late 90s, 2000, early 2000s, and then there would be like the first gay guy that would come out on the stage and sing, and he was best, So
like you're saying, him being gay made him the best singer?
No, he was best. He was really good singer. He still is. He's amazing.
They prepped him for this.
But he was the first one to be just out there with his feminine voice and dressing, in a way that was not really accepted countrywide. But he really maybe he was the one that started, and everything opened, a little circle. But still, up to today, you see a lot of people beaten up, maybe. On the seashore, you'll see a dead body or something of a trans. It's still like that.
Tatia, you're saying these things. It's so like no, it's not bad, because I mean, we on this podcast we want to be able to have real conversations, you know, because I know it's hard to have real conversations in this day and age, because everyone's like, you can't say that and this and all this kind of stuff, and you'll get canceled, and we don't give a shit. So we're very much like, let's have real conversations and let's be real.
Yeah.
And would you say that, let me ask you this, right? I mean, I don't know, because this is a public forum, I don't want you to necessarily say whether or not you have kids or whether you have a family, because people are weird and you don't know what people are going to do with that information. But when that time comes, or when you find yourself at that juncture to do so, what kind of morals or values would you say you would want to be then instilling in your children? Would it be the morals and the values that you grew up with? Or would you say, being here in America, you want your kids to have American values and morals?
I would take the best of both. And that's actually what I'm trying to reach myself.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going. And if and when I do have a child,
Don't
and
don't tell people whether or not you have a family or not. 'Cause
I'm waiting.
people are weird.
I'm waiting to get there myself. I know it's not like exact point. I know it's gonna happen whenever it's gonna happen or not. But I'm training. I'm disciplining myself every single day to become the best version that I can be. That I've learned from my country, from America, and from every single person, American or from you guys, from everybody I meet. I pretty much take the best, and I try to like feed myself all these things that, okay, I love that, I love that, I love that, and then I can take the face that I'm happy with because I've been satisfied with every single person's that point. So I'm pretty much like an empty cup, just taking in all the best parts of everybody and becoming the best version of myself.
So then, the reason why I ask is because it seems very much like growing up in a place like Eastern Europe or growing up in a place like Africa or the Caribbean, it's very much like you don't kind of break from or deviate from the way of life that's kind of been set out before you. And then here, it's sort of like you can, like that's like what you do.
Like you carve your way.
Like you carve your way in whatever way you want to. And it's sort of like, that's not to say you don't have things that might not be what your father did or might not be what your mother did, but it seems like there's kind of like the cultural aspect is kind of going away. Like if you're at the airport, right? Or you're walking down a street and then some weirdos start messing with you, would you want people to kind of step in, or would you not want them to step in to maybe protect you?
People can do what they want to do.
Talking about weirdos?
No, well, I'm saying the people, if they're gonna step in or not, that's really up to them. But I never would need anybody to step in. I handle the situations that come to me in my way.
With acid?
That's off camera.
We can go there if you want.
Throw some acid at them.
But
Take this.
Actually, since acid, my mentality and my morals and all of my thinking and my beliefs from Asia and...
We're talking about LSD, by the way.
Right.
We're not talking about, like, battery acid. like let's be clear.
I think people know.
Yeah, I mean, you never know.
So from Georgia and so let's say Europe, Asia, and then coming here, Western. Since acid, I have really adopted to Eastern thinking and Eastern philosophy.
You mean
and
like Asian,
Buddhism
like
and
Buddhism. Okay.
Taoism. I started reading books and I was just really enhanced by how simple life really is. All you really have to do is just breathe and clear your mind. And I've been meditating since, literally, and every day, so disciplining myself. I pretty much came up with these versions where I have my disciplined self, then I have my living self, like the worker, the one that goes to work, the one that wakes up and is doing like the little jobs, and then I have the peaceful mind that is in the backwards. I call her Big Tati, and she guides the way for me.
Big Tati.
She tells me what's
almost like trying to find like a balance in between
yeah
different worlds that you find yourself being entered
Right.
into. So I think somebody like you, right, coming from Eastern Europe and then now coming into a place like America, I really want to understand, like, how, because really going back to Teeps's question, right, about like the values that you would want to instill on your children, right? Where would you find that in a spectrum? Like, meaning, like, do you think you value more like what your family has instilled in you, or do you value more what you've experienced in a place like America, in terms of, if you had a child right now today, what would be the foundation that you give to that child from your experience? Like, what would really be the foundation?
Love and respect for nature. I would start there.
Dropping the bomb. The love bomb. Yeah.
I was really never taught that, you know, growing up. So my child, I would teach them how to take care, how to live along Earth without harming it. Any living being in it, including animals, humans, rocks, trees. Don't put stuff in your trees. Don't put X and Y's and Z's and
Like write your name.
yeah.
Yeah.
All the stuff that
Did you do that for you and the guy?
I did.
You did that. You and the
I
guy.
did.
You and the guy in Florida. You did the heart, and then you did Big Tati plus, and then like John.
I didn't know Big Tati then. Only that small Tati, very small. But yeah, I was never taught that, and I will start there. I will start there, and then I think everything else will fall in its place.
Well, then, let me ask you this: would you say that is like lacking in the Georgian
Worldwide.
culture worldwide?
Everywhere.
So why would you say it's lacking worldwide? Like, what are you seeing in the world that makes you say that?
I think Earth is literally dying.
The Earth?
Yeah.
Well, I think humans are kind of dying.
So I think that humans and Earth equals the same thing, just on a different scale. As much as I can kill myself from drinking, doing drugs, eating bad, not exercising, just doing all the things or all the unnatural things to myself is going to kill me. Same thing with Earth. All the unnatural things of not taking care of it, emptying the ocean, factory farming, all this stuff, it's unnatural to it, and that's what's going to kill it. So I equal myself to Earth. So
I think the
even-
Earth will kill us before.
Yeah,
Like if
we
it
kill
comes
it.
down to it, the Earth's gonna be like, one of us
In
has
what
gotta
way?
go, and it's you first.
What way? What do you think?
Well, now you're gonna make me. Now you're gonna make me open up initiatic things. Like, we just kind of have an understanding of the Earth, because even this notion of like the Earth ever ending or the world ending is a religious, like it's a religious construct, and it's a religious construct because what it does is that it allows you to control people. Because if you can tell people that you know when the world is going to end, or you can get them to believe in a finality of the world, then it allows you to place them within a context where you can control them.
True.
And where you can be like, okay, this is what you have to do in order to avoid the finality, or in order to fit into the finality of the world. Now, within our temples, we understand that the earth is a celestial body. And the earth being a celestial body, it is a creation of the gods. And it being, and I say gods, right? It being a creation of the gods, it particularly is something that will never finish, because the gods set it out for it to exist within perpetuity. So they perpetuity. Sorry,
Thank
I
you.
know I'm always catching
Thank you,
shit for
dictionary.
for mispronouncing things like diaspora. But
Diaspora.
I know, guys, it's diaspora, if we're being exact. But what it does is that it allows the earth to always remain regardless of what's happening on the earth. So like animals, right? The same way that animals exist on the earth and they're very much attuned and aligned and harmonized with nature, like that kitten, right? Like that kitten doesn't have another cat around to show it how to clean itself, but it cleans itself.
Yeah.
Like without
It
fail,
knows.
like clockwork, it learns how to clean itself. Like clockwork, that cat, no one has to tell it like, oh, okay, this is now the way you do this, or this is now the way you do that. It just functions according to its natural instincts.
Right.
But human beings, we seem to be the only species on the earth that doesn't function in that way. So because of that, if the earth needed to basically kind of get rid of something in order to ensure its own survival, it would be us.
Absolutely.
Because of the way that we function with the earth.
Yeah.
Because of the way we destroy the earth. Because of the way we don't fit into the way that the earth is looking to align itself with the rest of the universe and become one and maintain that harmony with the rest of the existence. So with that being said, we understand, like within like the African indigenous temples, like we understand that the earth will never finish, but human existence on the earth could finish if human existence doesn't learn and abide by what you were saying, like learning how to love and respect nature,
Value it
and fit into it.
Yeah.
So if it comes down to it, like, you know, if you're cutting dead weight, like if you're on a ship and then, you know, you're like, okay, who should we throw overboard first? Like the earth is going to be like, get rid of those humans.
Yeah.
So it's very much like that. Like
But it's like if you imagine if, like a cancer, right? If humans are the cancer
I couldn't
of
have said
Earth.
it better. Yeah.
But sometimes you are able to, your body is able to get rid of cancer, but sometimes the cancer kills you.
So
right?
Humans are the cancer, right?
Humans are the cancer of Earth, maybe.
In this analogy.
So in that way, it matters. Like when somebody has cancer, your attitude really matters. So I feel like in the humans too, it just, for me, for example, to be able to share on my Instagram stories and all these little things and try to change the attitude of individual. If I have one person think something different today, and then a few days later somebody comes up to me and says something, oh, I saw that on your story and I actually thought about, you know, that kind of stuff. When you try to change people's attitude towards something positive, it's like if I had a cancer in my body and there was like a good cells were trying to go around the bad cells. So we're like, okay, we have to change, you know, let's heal. It's about let's heal together. But if not, and if I go quiet, if all the good cells go quiet, then all this cancer cells gonna take over.
Well, I think that's why what you do is very important. And with everything Tatia just explained, like the earth itself is an intelligent being. Like
Yes,
it's a living
I agree,
entity.
It's a
I agree.
supercomputer.
Yeah, it's like the supercomputer, right?
Yeah.
So the earth recognizes things like that. It sees people like you. It sees people who are willing to put themselves forward to actually sacrifice things and actually, you know, give
Make a
their
change.
energies to make a change.
Yeah.
Give their energies to actually produce a different result. So the earth notices that and sees that. And that's why the earth kind of like in a way feeds those kind of individuals or feeds those people, because it knows those people are the ones who are now going to help others to start looking at things different or seeing things in a different light. So it's like, it's not to say that, you know, all humans are just going to be wiped out, because there's obviously, like you said, there's cancer cells and there's good cells. There's cells that just don't, you know, are not active.
They're not sure yet.
Yeah, you know.
what they are.
They're just in the wind
they
right
just
now.
moved from Georgia to Florida.
They're
Okay.
they're
They don't know.
transgender. Yeah, they're transgender cells.
But the main point is this: it's like there has to, be a balance, and I think it's important what you said. If you have children, or what the values you instill in your children is pretty much, respect for nature. But I think it's important that if we're gonna say respect for nature, we'd have to first start at what nature is, especially in terms of a human being.
Yeah.
And that's starting with family, because if we're going to say we're going to respect nature, naturally a man and a woman coming together creates children. That's nature. So it would only make sense that, you have values, you have principles, you have things instilled in you from your family that you can pass down, which is, I guess, what you were even saying before, like you don't recognize certain things here in America because here, this culture or lack of culture, it doesn't really respect that same family structure. So in a sense, it doesn't respect nature in that way. So people don't have values and principles that they stand on from their family because everybody is like trying to make their own way. And then which kind of creates this weird rippling effect where even if those people have children, and their children might rebel against them because their children want to make their own way because they thought my way was better. But now nature has a funny way of making things come back to you because you put something out. So now if that's what you put out to your family, to your parents, what do you think you're going to get back? And then it's just a dangerous cycle of just destruction and chaos and just degeneration at that point.
Yeah, I think that happens when family is created that was not supposed to be family to begin with. It was accidents, incidents, accidental pregnancies, or just families introducing you to another. It's just kind of like if somebody's not bound to be together, then men, I think, naturally, and not just humans but all over the animals, they all, if you give the freedom to men, all they're gonna want to do is have as many children as possible from as many women as possible.
Just drop a bomb.
Right?
But is that a bad thing?
I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's like, it's natural, right? So how dare one woman sit here and expect monogamy and a relationship from a man? You be with me forever. Promise me now with this ring. With this ring, you promise me you're never gonna leave me. But then in 25 years, what happens? And it happens more in America than probably anywhere else. And that's where it started. A lot of, after the war and all these men coming home and having a lot of babies and families right away, and then,
No, you're good.
oopsie,
It's okay.
a lot of divorces and a lot of kids growing up on their own, and then the kids seeing this, then they think that's it. That's I think what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna probably get married one day, and if works out. If not, I'm gonna get divorced, and that's normalized here. And I wouldn't say that it's not like that in Georgia or anywhere else. I think finding love is something very special, and it cannot be taught, and it cannot be seen. I mean, if you have parents that have been together for a very long time and they have very special relationship, you can take example from them, or you see somebody else has it and you really want that. Like you see power couples and they're amazing together. You want that, but I think it's gonna be destruction unless you find that special thing.
So you feel like if the parents don't have like the kind of stability or the harmony, then it's sort of like the kids will never find that. And it's like the family itself would fall apart.
I'm not saying that the kids won't find that. Family obviously will break down, and then that's what kid will know, that is one option that could happen to them. I always know that, I may just end up being alone, and I'm okay with it. If it's okay if I don't find love, but you know what? I have so many other things that I can do. I'm gonna win no matter what.
But if a huge Georgian man with yoga mats in his pocket
Walks up to you and says, "Big Tati, I cannot live without you," you're gonna turn that down? Because he's big enough to have yoga mats in his pocket.
Yeah, I don't care for the size of the pockets. I care for love, and
What if he tells you that he loves you and the yoga
do
mats?
do I?
Yeah.
Do I? Maybe I do. Maybe the way he approaches is really
Yeah.
gonna intrigue me, and
Tati,
I'm gonna
I feel
fall.
like you. I
I'm
feel
gonna
like you
fall
would
for
not
the-
turn that down. You'd be like, "Those are such large yoga mats."
I do like to meditate.
Yeah, exactly.
Would you like
Like-
to spread them down?
Yes. Don't lie to us. Don't lie to us, Tati. If a big sweet talking Georgian man walked up with a rose and 2 yoga mats in his pocket, you're gonna be like, "Wow."
No, I'll definitely feel. I'll feel bubbly.
Exactly. You just use the word bubbly. Like,
I'll feel bubbly, but no, I believe in love at first sight. I do.
oh, you do?
Oh yeah.
So like you're saying like if the yoga mats aren't the right color, then it's a wrap.
No, it's the look in the eyes. Come on, you know this.
It's a look. No, I don't necessarily believe in love at first sight. So that's what I'm saying. Like,
Oh, okay.
so then when you say love at first sight, what do you mean? Like it's based on
Oh my God.
you look at the person and then you're like,
Wow, that's it.
that's it.
Yes, I've
Wouldn't
had
that
that happen
be-
to me.
Yeah, but is that
That'd be
what
like
happened
lust?
between? Yeah. Is that what happened
It
between
could-
you and the guy in Florida?
That happened with few guys in
It was a-
Florida.
So then how
So
is it
then-
supposed?
Wait,
so then how is it worth
who
anything?
But wait, what do you
Yeah.
mean? Even though it was lust, then the moments never leave me, or never will leave my mind and my heart.
So
I
then
will
why aren't
forever
you
remember and
guys
love
together
them
then?
for who they are, because it was crazy, right? But I am together with somebody.
So wait, what was crazy then? What was crazy? The love at
Oh,
first
we don't
sight?
want to go there.
Yeah, because like Tati, like okay, like if I'm a man, right, and then you say I believe in love at first sight, and then you're like, I've loved you from the minute I've seen you, right, and then 10 minutes later in the conversation, you're like, this is the 5th time it's happened to me. Like I'm gonna be like,
I'm out of here, bruh.
No. I would say that it
I'm
happened
number
to
6?
me. No,
Yeah.
not 5th. 5 is a lot, but I don't think it's impossible. It's just like you probably, a lot of things are happening in your life for you to see that many situations where you actually fall. No, I'm still talking about very special things here. You know, some like I fell in love with one guy, for example, that I saw. He opened the door, he walked through the door, and I saw him, and I will never forget these moments, and I will never forget how he went around. I didn't even look at him this whole time, but I knew where he was. I felt him. I was going crazy.
Damn.
I slept, I dreamt about him, my jaw was shaking, you know, like all these things. It's just, you cannot just call it lust. Lust is, okay, it's a bit more intimate and like maybe sexual, but something is very interesting
It's
when
energetic is what you're saying.
Or
Right.
when somebody just like looks at you in a certain way, it goes the deepest in your eyeballs that it's ever been.
So-
and it's just,
So would you say it's like it sounds like you're saying it's like it's almost easy, right, to fall in love, but then I guess the question is, what is it after you've fallen? Like what do you need to do to stand in love
And to keep the love.
and to keep
well,
it?
then you have to find out who the person is, how they are, who they are, and that may or may not work with who you are and how you are. And it didn't with the last 2 guys I fell in love with, but it certainly did with
You
this one.
don't tell the people you're like you're
I am in
complete.
relationship.
Yeah. Shout out to Tati's partner.
Yes, definitely shout out to you.
Love at first sight.
It was.
I hope you're learning something about Tati. About how to keep the love alive. You
Hey.
don't want to be number 7.
You want to be one that lasted the longest. I don't think there's just like one person forever.
Damn.
No, it's like more like I found somebody that has everything that I've ever loved in everybody else.
But then wouldn't that be
you want that to last for a lifetime?
Of course I do, unless if something goes really wrong, and if it's not the right thing, I'm not afraid to break it down, but it hasn't yet.
So
It's beautiful.
what is really the determining factor in it lasting? Like, what really makes a relationship last for you, right? Because even going back to your experience coming into America from a place like Eastern Europe, like Georgia, right? Like, what are the things that you found in your relationships that were really the challenge as the reason why you're still not in some of those relationships?
Right. I think it's those points where you have option to be honest and discuss something, or you don't, and you keep something in your heart. Maybe you'll share this with your friend, or go about it without even discussing it. And I think those are the type of times when relationship just drafts apart a little by little by little by little, and then that's it. But I've learned that from my past relationships, and in this one, I am the most honest I could ever be. I am so honest. I have nothing to talk about.
Yeah, you don't strike us as holding back on honesty.
Right.
I'm not. I'm really not. Because I think that the best thing about life and to learn from each other is to be really honest. And if I lie something, might as well just tell you somebody else's story. Why am I telling my story?
So would you say it's almost like, from my perspective, it almost sounds like there was a cultural differences?
Definitely. I mean, of course, there's always been cultural differences. I haven't been in love with a Georgian guy.
What did they do to you?
One. And it
One
was not
Georgian
even
guy.
a relationship. It was not even a relationship. It was the one that I told you. I saw him walk in the room and I just fell in love with him, but we never really had a relationship. I just was sick. It's like getting some kind of a disease. I was literally, I was struck. I couldn't stop thinking about him. I couldn't stop daydreaming, and
You were obsessed with them.
I was obsessed with him,
Like the
and
Mariah
I
Carey
barely
song.
even know him, So it was maybe just my idea of him.
But did you guys ever interact? Or
Yes, we
Were you
did.
just stalking him?
Few weeks, because he was in Georgia and I lived in America, so I would go back on vacation and see him there, and then he would be with another girls, and
Tati.
I was nobody, and
Tatia, you were flying back to Georgia to be with this guy?
no,
Like,
just for a
that's love.
vacation. But I was hoping to see him,
Sure.
obviously.
Sure.
Come on, that was years ago. Don't make my current partner uncomfortable.
Yeah, no, we're here to support the union that you're in right now, and we're here to make sure that you and your current partner, because it sounds like you want to have a family at some point, if it happens. Because you said you're gonna win regardless. So
Winning is not having family for me.
it's not.
No.
So then, what's winning? What's winning to you?
If I didn't teach my child something, then I can teach it to somebody else, and that's winning for me.
But you wouldn't want yours though.
No,
Because
you
it's
see, I don't
different.
really have that need of
But it's
reproductive
kind of
need.
different though. Like when
I'm
you're
sure.
teaching yours versus someone else's, it's different.
I'm sure, but I just don't have I physically don't have that need, because I know some women have that they can't wait. Maybe right now I don't, but I don't think reproductively right now that I have to do this or my years are counted or something. I'm fearless about how much potential I have to teach somebody, anybody, everything, my child or not.
So speaking on that, we were talking a little bit about music,
Yeah.
right? And how you're a DJ.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the things you do, like music? Because I wasn't there personally, but I know that there were some initiates from the temple that were there. And then that's how we all cross paths. And that's how we're even here, sitting here talking right now, is the initiative through the street cleaning and things like that. So why don't you talk about some of the projects that you're doing and some of the things you're involved in and some of the things you do?
Okay. So for DJing, I started playing maybe 6-7 years ago when I learned. I got a scholarship from Monster Energy. Shout out to Monster Energy
Monster
for giving
Energy?
me a full scholarship to go to a DJ Academy. I won.
didn't even know there was DJ
Yeah, I didn't even
academies.
know there were DJ academies.
There's a couple in New York, there's Miami, Los Angeles, big cities. Big cities have DJ schools where, Run DMC, for example, opened the school that I went to.
Run DMC? Like, Run DMC?
Run DMC,
like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that.
So I went there, I had full scholarship, I learned a few things, then my friends taught me a bunch of stuff. I was really interested because I always loved to party. That's where I found my release, on a dance floor, closed eyes, and just enjoying music and just being surrounded with people, beautiful people around me. Everybody's happy. It's just the happy times because, like I said, I come from a broken family, so it was pretty depressing to be not at the party. So party was my home, and it's been since, and it still is. And that is where I meet my friends. That is where I met my current boyfriend. And
While you were DJing? Or while you were
actually,
partying?
while I was DJing, he saw me DJing, and
He was like, what song is this?
actually he knew what song it was, and then he hit me up, and he was like, this and this song you were playing. I was, oh, yep, good one.
So I'm not going to say that because I don't want to put you in jeopardy. Go ahead. Yeah, I was going to be like, was it Love at First Sight?
It was 100,000%. My
Okay.
third one. So what if it's a third charm or something like that? You know,
Third
it's
time's
been
a charm.
3 only, but
Third time's a charm.
he's my third falling in love at first sight, but it's been
Well, it
going
is a
so
powerful
smoothly, and
number.
he's the best person in the whole world. So, okay, where was I? DJing, right?
Yeah.
So I started it as obviously a passion of sharing music. I've always had that thing of, just if I'm in the room, I'm going to control what music's going to play for everybody. I was always the one with the aux cord.
You sound like my inspiration. You sound like me.
Really?
Yeah, I'm
I mean,
like that too.
That's how it starts.
Yeah.
You're like a natural DJ. I think when from early teenagehood, I was always the one that would find a couple cool songs on YouTube and then couldn't wait to show it to my friends and listen to it on the phone speaker and just walk up. I was always that person, and then I lost it through coming here and then relationships and school, adapting to a new country. I lost that. I didn't even speak English. It was hard transition, but then in my early mid-20s, I would end up on these boat parties and stuff, and I had SoundCloud in Florida. Yes, boat parties, and
I've never been invited to a party on a boat.
they were happening, and I actually had
my
the boat.
prom was on a boat. My high school prom.
Your prom. Oh, I thought you
My
said
high
your
school.
prime.
No, my high school prom.
Oh, I was like, what?
And you had a DJ.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, she's basically like, why didn't you hire me for as the DJ for your prom?
So at those boat parties, there will be a lot of girls that, in my age, early 20s, everybody's just shuffling and EDM and house music and all this stuff. And they're like, oh my God, you should definitely be a DJ. And I was like, no way, in what world?
Can you shuffle?
I did.
You did?
Yes.
It.
I still can. I don't want to. I will not.
No, I'm not
Don't
gonna
ask.
ask. I'm not gonna ask you to shuffle, but it just kind of seems like it's like a dance that only like white women do.
Ooh.
Because like I've only ever seen white women do it.
Yeah,
with the
no,
exception of,
actually,
like,
they're guys.
one-
Men do it. The white boys do it.
Really?
Of course.
I've never seen any men shuffle.
No, yeah, definitely men shuffle.
But sorry, keep going.
So from that, I got the inspiration, and then maybe a little tiny manifestation, and then I applied for the School of Scholarship of DJ Academy, and I actually got in, and I
Nice.
learned, boom. And here I was with a little controller in my room. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know any parties and all this, but then all this stuff
This was
starts.
in Florida,
where-
right?
Well, that was in Florida, but I got into the DJ school in New York, and at that time I was already thinking of moving here, and then I did move here. I found a job, and my New York life started halfway through me being in United States. Half of the time I spent in Florida, and then last 7 years I've been in New York. So I started going out. I rented a music studio. I slowly bought all the equipment where I would try to produce music, sing. I play piano from childhood, and I've always been very musical, and I knew how much it saved me from a lot of traumas, how much power music has over somebody's emotions and making you feel good or sad or this. It's just so powerful. And going out on the dance floor is my favorite thing to do. It's where I have my therapy. If I'm going out to help somebody to go over something, if I go out on a dance floor, that's my therapy. That's where I heal myself. Just close my eyes and listen to music. And I have to make sure it's the DJs that I trust their selection and I know they're professional and they keep the flow, not just shuffle music, you know? But
Not just
really,
shuffling.
really professional vinyl collectors that have been doing this for many years.
So
And
you scratch too?
I don't scratch. I know how to. I learned in the scratch school. I play on vinyl, but I don't scratch because it's not asked of me to do. I just try to find a seamless flow of music going from one another without you noticing that it's changing. So it's pretty much hours of music just going into another.
Are you on Spotify?
I am not, and I don't have one.
No?
Nope.
Well, where can we
SoundCloud.
find you? SoundCloud? Okay. So then we're going to need you to shout out your SoundCloud.
I
so
will.
that we can, and then also make sure you share it with us so that we can put it in the link and everything,
Yeah. Also about that is once I do make and release, well, I have released one track, but if I release more tracks, if and when I do, I will probably get the Spotify. But right now, I just don't have the need for it.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm DJing most of the time, a few times a month. And since I'm only playing on records, which I really adore, I love the art of playing on vinyl. It's really hard to come across those records, and I don't want to just share a bunch of mixes on social media where people can listen to this music, because I want them to come out and listen to me in person.
Right.
And that's the only time they're gonna come and hear. It's like a rarity, if you want to listen to me, come and listen.
Yeah.
Rather than me
The only way you're
putting the
gonna get-
music that I'm barely ever finding amazing music to put it out and give it to people for free on SoundCloud. No, thank you. I'm doing it. I'm paying money for each and every vinyl. So for me, it's important to go play at the club and have a support from communities. So being said that, I have a lot of DJing friends and community. I have so many female girlfriends that they're so powerful. And I also host I call it goddess gatherings, where all my DJ female friends, we come together and we don't really do music. We actually just sit in a circle over candles and discuss important stuff from our childhood, about families. So I'm trying to connect people through music and make a change. So these girls would otherwise probably would never come together and sit down and talk about this stuff if I didn't connect the dot. And this, I think, comes from my culture, from what I learned from Georgia and how I am and how my mother taught me to be.
I was actually going to ask that question. I'm glad you mentioned it, right?
I feel like, yes. So even, for example, there was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful moment. We're upstate, and it's about 15 kids my age. I'm not calling myself a kid. 15 mid-aged people in their 20s, 30s, we're all kind of musicians or artistic people, and we're sitting around the fire, and it's at night, and you can see the stars. It's so beautiful, and the smoke is going up, and we're all sitting with the blankets. It's a beautiful thing to be together, but somehow something is missing.
Was it acid?
Yes. How did you know?
Oh, really? That's where it was going to go?
No.
Oh.
Something was missing. Something
That's
that
just
would
funny.
bond,
Yeah, I
that would
know.
glue us together. Nothing was gluing us together because it's 15 or 12, 15 people, and come on and find a one conversation where it's like a big circle and nobody's really storytelling. And that, I feel like that used to be the beauty of life maybe before, but people didn't have speakers and phones, where it would have been the storytelling. If you come around in a circle on a fire, that's what you do. And we didn't have that. And I was like, okay, something's missing. So I need to do something, because that's who I am. That's who I am. I make connections to make something beautiful out of something that's kind of scattered. And it was scattered situation. And people were playing. There was one guy who was dominating a speaker. And he would play, "You want it, let's do it." You know, like a lot of American, let's go, the songs that everybody
about Pony
knows.
by Genuine?
Yeah, so like he would play a lot of songs that pretty much American culture people listen to growing up, cultural, like that's what they would do. Maybe from young age, if they got together, they would take a speaker and listen to the song that everybody knows. But in my country, what we would do, we wouldn't put the speaker there. We would start chanting, we would start singing, somebody would get up and dance around. You know, it would be more alive, more engaging. It's like being in a theater and a show right in front of you, which you can be a part of if you want to. You know, it's so, that's the glue I'm talking about, where you have that togetherness. And here it was not together, because I am from Georgia, she is from Ukraine. I don't know, out of these 15 people, we don't care for the songs that you're playing. It doesn't make sense.
He was a bad DJ.
He was not a bad DJ. He was great DJ for people who understood it, but not everybody did. So I was like, guys, I have an idea.
Cord.
No.
Oh.
You know what I did?
What?
I said, I think we need to take that phone and go in a circle and everybody play one song that you really care about, that you want to share. So that turned into something super memorable for everyone. Imagine one, and we're not skipping the songs here. We're listening to somebody playing 7 minutes of something very jazzy, so beautiful, so dramatic, something with the violin. So people are not just playing dance songs. They're playing something that really matters to them, because by the time the circle comes to you, you have listened to 10 songs and you care for that one song that everybody's gonna listen to, because this is like already 5 a.m. in the morning, everybody's ears.
Damn.
You know, everybody's listening. So, and then once I hear this song, I look at you and I at least make that connection of, wow, this person is actually really attached to this. And that made it so beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, that was the glue that was needed. And then next day, people couldn't stop talking about how that really changed the night. And then the guy that was DJing, he was like, "Tati, you know what you're doing." And I was like, you know what? I don't need the appreciation, but I'm very happy I did that for everybody's sake. So with the dirty dancing, with the street cleanup, that's kind of what I did there too. It's like connecting the dots. That
Wait, just make sure people know what you mean by that.
Oh, okay.
Because
So
people won't, like you said that so fast that people won't know what you're talking about.
okay, so one day I was walking in Brooklyn on the streets, and it was a beautiful day. It was sunny. I had music in my headphones. I was walking, just smiling, enjoying my day. But then I would open my eyes and I see garbage here, garbage there, garbage here, garbage there, and people parked, just sitting like it's okay, it's fine. And a week before that was Ukrainian bombing. And I saw some viral videos where people were in Ukraine, they were gathering and having techno DJs on these bombed areas, and they were listening to music, raving and cleaning up with the music, with the DJ, because that's what they love to do. But they were using that force, music force, and doing what they love to do the job.
But they weren't afraid that like they're gonna drop a bomb again in those areas?
Well, I don't know. They probably weren't in the areas, but you can look up the videos. It's real. So I was really inspired by that, but I didn't think that watching these videos would click something later. But a week later, when I'm walking in the streets in Brooklyn and I see this, I was like, wait, do we have to get bombed to clean up our shit? We don't.
I mean, it's Brooklyn. You might.
Yeah.
We may, but
Yeah.
but my point was, I'm a DJ. I have DJ friends. We have music. We have equipment. Actually, I have a friend who has a truck. So maybe we need to clean up the streets with the trucks. So my friend actually was the one who helped me come up with the name Dirty Dancing, which is, I think, amazing, because you're dirty and you're dancing.
It fits well.
Yeah, it does. And we started this in April. My idea was, May or something like that. And then we did April. And then ever since then, we've been doing once a month around Brooklyn, different areas. And it's been nice. I just wish more people came out. I feel like residents here are so used to seeing the garbage. They're okay with it. You know?
Yeah, it's become a normal.
Americans are garbage.
It's a norm. It's a norm.
Thing.
And I'm trying to...
It's cultural.
I'm trying to call it out. Like, guys, no, this
Americans
is not
are
normal.
garbage.
It's not good.
You know what I love about this? Like, what you do is the fact that in everything that you just said, from your DJing style into you even seeing that there was a need for this cleanup, right? It's showing that there's a cultural background behind it.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't have the cultural background that you have as somebody from Georgia, Eastern Europe, you would not DJ the way you DJ.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the culture is your foundation. The principles, the values that you have is your foundation.
Absolutely.
So that becomes the stool in which you stand on. So it's like you're not on shaky grounds because you have that culture. And that same culture is even what's given you the same kind of principles and values to see, hey, there's a need here. So let me see what I can do to fulfill that need.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we really have to highlight in this conversation, is that the fact that people need to understand that culture is what really gives a human being a foundation to stand on.
Superpower.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
I actually want to, because we're talking about music, it's funny because when you said Georgia, I almost forgot. But then I realized that on my feed, somehow, some way, there's these 3 Georgian...
Girls.
Do you know who I'm talking about?
On the guitar.
Yeah.
Or walking
in the
around.
middle of nowhere,
Yeah.
like with the... And I was like, wow. I was like, I really wish, like you know who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I was like, I really wish I knew what they were saying. I'm like, because it's so nice.
Yeah.
Like you can just kind of feel the energy of what they're saying, but you don't really know what they're saying.
Would you like me to translate?
Yeah, but we can do it off camera. We don't have to do it. We don't have to do it now because everyone's gonna be like,
we'll listen to Georgian
everyone's gonna be
songs.
like, what the hell are they talking? Like, what the hell is
I'm
going
sure
on?
a lot of people know.
Yeah.
It's pretty viral, and I love that because I'm pretty sure those girls never expected them to get so famous.
It's huge.
Yeah, and I love that. I love that. It's putting a little bit of stamp of what Georgian folklore music is.
Exactly.
And it's beautiful. I grew up. My mom actually. If those 3 girls were, well, my mom, me, and my sister. So my mom would sit us down and she would give us the voices. You sing in this voice, you sing in that voice. And then if there were more people, she would give everybody voice. So my mom was always the person, kind of what I'm doing now.
Your mom was DJing.
My mom was the vocal DJing, to us. And my mom was that person who fulfilled the needs of what was necessary in the moment. And I think I'm getting it from her.
So we're gonna transition to another part of the show. I'm just gonna answer some of these questions. We're just gonna answer some of these questions in the chat real fast, and then I'm gonna go into a
We
word.
have questions?
We have questions, and then after the questions, then we will go into a word from our sponsor, and then rapid fire. So. Shout out to Matthew Ruta. Matthew Ruta, like always coming through, most dedicated listener, because he even said, I won't be on the live today because I'm at my cousin's wedding, so here are a few questions. So shout out to Matthew for dropping the questions and then going back to the wedding. Wishing your cousin and their spouse, I don't know if your cousin's a man or a woman or transgender or whatever, so shout out to them and their spouse. Hope the marriage lasts long. He said, what's up with the African Union joining the G20 summit? Are they doing so as sovereign nations? Is that good or bad?
as far as I know, the African Union in and of itself is important to understand that a lot of the so-called African leaders are technically. Oh, I was like, where's that reverb coming from? It's coming from my phone. A lot of the so-called African leaders are actually being trained by the colonial powers. Mm-hmm. So for them to attend the G20 summit, that's not surprising, especially if it's the African Union. It's kind of the same thing you're dealing with like ECOWAS and like these African countries that are aligned with ECOWAS and then are trying to attack Niger and their, the coup d'etat and their attempt for independence from France.
Revolution.
So it's not surprising in the slightest, because it's kind of important to remember that the African Union in and of itself is going to be just an extension of the colonial powers. Is there a connection between the Dogon, the Nabatean kingdom, and Petra in Jordan?
That's a great question. Wow.
It is. And then, but he also followed it up with, also, Kajazariman was supposed to get into ancient Sumeria.
When was I supposed to do that?
I don't know. In one of the episodes, we were talking about Sumeria or something like that. So I'll let you take the question, because that's too much, and I'm not about to get into all that. So you can just get into it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll make it short. So that's actually a great question.
Said no one ever. Yeah.
That's a really, really, really good question, because if you can even look at the founder of the Earth Center, the founder of these temples, Master Naba, the term Naba is actually a bloodline name. So there's a bloodline called the Nabas, and who they attribute Petra to is called like the Nabateans. And if you look into like the Bible historically, they even said like the children of Israel only listened to the Nabateans. So Naba or Nabateans was actually like the priest bloodline, and they're the bloodline who was responsible for like the spiritual aspects of the society that we now know as ancient Egypt or Kemet. So they were essentially responsible for like taking care of the spiritual things, especially in regards to the pharaoh. So the Nabatean like temple that's in Petra is actually a Naba temple. So yes, there's definitely a connection, because the Naba bloodline themselves are the ones who were responsible for that same temple in Petra or Jordan today, or who they call the Nabateans. And in regards to Sumeria, if I'm remembering correctly, I think we were talking about, I think somebody asked a question about if Sumeria was older than Kemet or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, it was something like that.
The thing is this: Egyptologists, anthropologists, and all of these people will kind of like make it seem like all of these things are like separate. But if you understand exactly what Kemet is, the best way I can relate it to you is like this. If Washington, D.C. is the capital of the United States of America, then Iture, or the Nile Valley, or what people call Egypt, is the capital of this Kemetic civilization. Now, what we call Mesopotamia or Sumeria, all these places, are other parts or extensions of that same civilization, but it's not the capital. So Egyptologists and all these other people, anthropologists, will make it seem like they're two separate things, but they're not. It's more like another region in a global civilization. The same way how like we have globalization today, it was the same way we had globalization back then in ancient times. But the difference was that we have globalization today due to colonialism and, death, destruction, the planet being, used as collateral damage or suffering. But back then, it was more so about people uniting under certain principles and certain values, in which is what gives us culture and traditions. So no, Sumeria is not older than Kemet, because they wouldn't make any sense, because it's an extension or part of the Kemetic civilization.
No, not really.
So then the next question, Matt dropped all his questions and then went to the wedding. Can Niger not resort to holding French politicians hostage? I feel like this is too aggressive of an approach that can provoke a war. The thing is ECOWAS already threatened Niger to invade if they didn't restore the president that they overthrew in Niger through the coup. So I would say it's sort of like, you know, stupid games get stupid prizes, and it's already kind of ventured into the realm or the waters of, like, you know, once people start talking about invading other countries based on, you know, putting a president back in power, like, you know, it kind of seems like the gloves have already come off. So I don't really know if there's a way to kind of maybe de-escalate the situation in Niger to maybe stop that. I would just say, like, you know, hopefully that the situation gets resolved as soon as possible without as much bloodshed as possible. And, you know, hopefully it doesn't result to war, but, you know, as long as France kind of minds its business and goes back to attending France and not attending another country, another region, another continent, then I think, you know, everything should be good.
Yeah, I just want to add, the thing is this, it was already a situation that was going to be war, because France, right, is already a place in which it's dictating to other countries what it should do, what it should not do, and how it should function, how it should run, simply because France is dependent on these other countries for its own survival. And people are pretty much tired of being, you know, under the thumb of these colonial societies. Like, people are tired of it. People are tired of listening to France. People are tired of listening to America. People are tired of having to conform to what the Western powers want people to do. So it's already been war. So what you're seeing is already like the peak of situations that's been occurring for years and years and years and years and years and years. It's not like people just want to get up and just start, you know, ensuing violence. Things don't happen that way. Like, you have to have put people in a position to want to function that way. And it's like been years and years and years that this thing has been building up. So at this point, we can't really avoid, you know, violence. As Tatia said, I just hope that there's as less violence as possible, but you can't avoid it. Like, it's already gone too far.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it doesn't happen, but there's no way to kind of tell. I'm not the Nigerian general that's overseeing the coup and all that kind of stuff, but, you know, France doesn't seem like it's going to take it lying down in terms of its cash cow in Africa being taken away from it, because France is still relying on these African countries to utilize them as their cash cow, as imperialistic colonies. So I know Putin isn't exactly Tati's favorite person, but he told Macron, the president of France, at one point, he was like, remove these African countries that France is keeping its thumb on, and then France will fall. So, you know, eventually you keep your thumb on on top of people for long enough, eventually, you know, they're going to rise up and they're going to say, enough is enough. You impose things on people for a long enough time. Like, I think Tupac said it. He said, violence is the language of the unheard. I'm not making a case for violence, but I think at a certain point, you have to understand that some people maybe resort to violent actions when that's the only type of language that the people that are coming into a land attempting to impose and take over function according to. So I'm not there. I can't really speak on it as being a Nigerian, but I could say, like, you know, hey, it's what's gonna happen is what's gonna happen there, and we're not really gonna be there to kind of dictate it. Matthew Ruta said, lastly, I propose that the podcast viewers be referenced as the GOGers.
That's just, I don't get it.
Like,
Gate of Gatesers.
yeah, Gate of Gators.
Cheers. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Matthew. We'll take it into consideration. Tina Patch was asking, I have a question about initiation classes. I pre-registered for online initiation at the New Jersey Temple. How and when do we know that we made the final registration? Looks like Tias to answer the question, but Tina, there's a difference between the online temples, the online temple, and the physical temples. So the physical temples don't offer online options. If online initiation is something that you're interested in, then I suggest you keep yourself abreast of the announcements coming from the online temple for when they're opening up their doors of initiation. But if you would like to check out the classes in the New Jersey Temple, that's going to be 11 a.m. on Sundays. And, you're going to be lucky because Kaja Zariman is going to be teaching that generation. So, you guys can come and you can talk shit to him for all the things you've wanted to say to him on Gate of Gates that maybe you haven't been able to say. He'll be here. Or if you're looking to kind of catch him slipping, he'll be here.
That's fine. Yeah. That's fine. I can take all the pressure and all the questions. That's fine.
All the shit, you mean?
Yeah,
exactly.
all the shit.
All the yoga
I'll take
mats,
it all.
all the acid.
I'll take it all.
Warrior Zul Bukande is asking, what does that mean?
It's just that I didn't expect that long name.
Oh, I've never
Warrior
heard that.
Zul Bukande.
Yeah, I've never heard that before, so I was like, maybe it means something. But Warrior Zul Bukande said, was there a non-human influence behind the European colonization of the world?
That's actually a very good question.
It's a very good question.
Wait, can you repeat the question?
Was there a non-human influence behind the European colonization of the world? So you see this thing in front of us, this calendar, right? So you see that we're in the year 423, right? So technically we're not in the year 423 per se, like in terms of the whole existence of the earth. It means it's been 423 years since there was a astrological or astronomical alignment where the sun, the moon, the earth, and the Sirius star align. And when that alignment happens, it's called the Great Heliacal Rising. And it's called the Great Heliacal Rising because essentially the Sirius star is considered the star or the celestial body that dictates to all of the other celestial bodies within the existence and within the universe and says, this is what we're going to do, and this is my route that I follow, and this is how much time it takes for me to get through my route, and all of you guys need to align with my route. Now, what that does is when that happens, you see a lot of changes happening throughout the universe. So the last time, I'll let you guys do the math. It's 2023, and you deduct 423 from 2023. That technically would put us within the time zone, or not the time zone, within the time frame of the 1600s. Now, for those of you that need me to spell it out for you, the last time this alignment happened in the 1600s, something happened globally that had a very strong influence on the world. Now, you guys can look it up, what happened in the 1600s, because when that alignment occurs, what it does
is that there's a lot of things that happen throughout the planet and on the planet. So to say, was there a non-human influence behind the European colonization of the world? It's going to be for you to decide, depending upon the way you understand the way that the existence functions according to the way our temples understand it, depending upon the way we understand that these astronomical alignments occur and the influence that they have on the rest of the world and the other planets and the way that the whole universe functions. So
now I just want to go and look up everything that happened in year 1600 and try to make sense of it all.
well, I mean,
It's a good exercise.
it's a good exercise.
Very good one.
It's a really good exercise because when you look at the 1600s, you look at a lot of, damn it, Tati, you're going to make me go into it.
But
It's
like musically, I'm thinking musically, you know, like the greatest composers
in the
those
1600s.
years. Bach, you know, like
Yeah.
crazy.
Well,
They changed the world that way. At
I
least.
mean, yeah, music definitely probably from the European standpoint, definitely probably took off.
But what about
But what
African
about
standpoint?
everywhere else? Who knows? I mean, music, we've always kind of been like the, holding it down with music. Like,
Always?
yeah, we've always been, kind of like making it happen. But
I would say
Tati's
there's a history of like I guess
Tati's
African
like,
composers
I don't know
of
about that one.
classical
before
music.
those 1600s, it was mostly, like Baroque and then like chanting, Gregorian chanting and singing, like not as epic as Mozart,
As Bach.
not as epic as music became
Yeah.
later. Like 1600 was, I think, for me, really where it started to get really interesting, super emotional and taking turns and stuff. The music got really interesting. Does it have something to do with the serious?
I mean, I've never actually. It's an interesting question because I've never
From that perspective,
actually,
it
from that
is.
perspective. But I would say this: in the 1600s, like, it looks like Taj looked it up. Did you look it up, Taj? No. Oh.
He's scrolling.
He's like, man, I'm watching anime.
Yeah, no, Taj is like, I'm watching Dragon Ball Z. Nigga. What you mean?
Yeah, Goku just fought Vegeta, bro.
He's like, Namek just exploded, bruh. Well, that's when the slave trade started.
Well, that's
Well-
when it reached its height.
That's when it really hit the fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not started.
I would say started, but when you really look at the slave trade, that's when it started to become global. That's when it started to really start to kind of take its form throughout the
It was called
entirety
out. It was
of the
called out.
planet.
Okay, that's a slavery.
It was like, that's when it really kind of like started to really take off in terms of becoming a global phenomenon.
see.
And when you look at that particular practice globally, it has a huge influence on the way the world has gone to this day. So, it's a big thing to take into consideration in terms of the influence that cosmic astronomical alignment can have.
So
So
interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna do my homework.
we'll be
Can't
here. We'll be here when you do your homework.
I'll ask the next question on the next podcast.
So then, Tina Patch is asking again, do you know which temples has it online? That would be the online temples that do that, Tina. So
Well, there's only one online.
there's only
temple.
one online temple. Then the next question is war between Africa and Europe inevitable? I don't know if war between Europe and Africa would ever break out, but I would say that there's been an ideological war that's been going on for a very long time.
And you can see the kind of alignments between the territories in Europe that still have a connection to the same kind of principles that Africa stands on, and the same kind of principles that some of these European territories stand on. And you can see that kind of correlation. And that's why you see even the Eastern European countries, particularly Russia, aligning itself, even Turkey, aligning themselves with African countries right now. Because when you really look at the degeneracy and you really look at the kind of like, you know, just degeneration that's happening in the Western world and the Western societies, then you could see that there's kind of like a coalition that's occurring between the countries that are still connected to some sort of culture versus the countries that aren't connected to culture. And you see that alignment even happening for a lot of these places economically, which is why BRICS is such a big deal, because you see Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and all of the other African countries and the Middle Eastern countries that recently joined that coalition, banding together to kind of fight against the influence of America and the Western world and its, you know, control that it really has on the rest of the world. So I would say that there's wars that are already being fought, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're being spelled out as clearly as we would maybe like it to be spelled out. Because I don't think Putin is ever going to come out and say, like, you know, I'm really fighting against the Western influence by aligning myself with African countries, or Turkey saying I'm really fighting against the American influence or the Western influence by aligning myself with African countries, or China saying that, or Brazil, or Russia, or India, or South Africa. Because the thing is, you know, what's understood doesn't always have to be explained. And, you know, it is what it is in that regard. Is like, I would say that war is maybe already kind of happening, but it's happening on an ideological front as opposed to happening on a flesh and blood, strictly violent front.
I think that's one of the issues that we face here in the West, is that Western society has become Western society due to like that physical flesh and blood fighting, right? So our idea and our concept of war is not necessarily intellectual anymore. Like, we view war in a way where it's like violence in machines and guns and and all this stuff, but like that's not the only it's not the only form of war, you know? So like we
Speak for
did
yourself.
I think we did a podcast on this, right? Like
We did. We talked about World War III.
World War III is already happening. You just haven't realized it's happening. But it's just happening on a very intellectual front. It's almost like the Cold War. Technically, this is World War IV, if we're being real.
I mean, if we're being honest, it's about understanding that war doesn't always have to be marred by violence.
Right.
Like, you can fight a war, and it can be a war through, you know, just your sheer existence of persevering in the face of, you know, maybe powers that be not wanting you to exist. And that's the thing, is like, I can't speak for the way maybe Georgia takes to the way Russia maybe stands up to America, or maybe has that kind of like rivalry to America, because I know that maybe, you know, Russia maybe hasn't done the nicest things to Georgia. But we look at it in a way where we understand that America is a particular superpower that is going to really kind of take the world down, whether the world wants to go down with America or not.
Well, it's already been taken down.
I mean, the world is already fucked.
like because of America's influence a lot of ways. Like, and it's really America. So when we really look at America, it's like, you know, the ideological war of the culture that you can even find in places of Georgia and Russia and these different places. It's more like the Western way of living really poses a big threat to these cultural places, because it's very much like a culture of no culture. And that culture of nothingness and that culture of kind of just like, you know, we're just like
Call
we're
it individuality.
That's the perfect.
You can't make this shit up. You can't make this shit up. We didn't say it. Tati said it. You can't make this up.
because that individuality becomes then once you've alienated the person from the group, because it's just about understanding, like, okay, you take the city and then you divide the city down into, regions, and then depending upon the different regions, then you're able to maybe take the people from the region to now the city or the village, and then from the region it becomes like the zip code, and then from the zip code then it becomes like, okay, now it's like the specific city, and then you're able to divide people and then make them individuals. And then if you're able to divide and conquer in that way, you can get people from Georgia fighting with people from Russia. You can get people from Russia fighting with people from Ukraine, where, as far as I know, they speak the same language, right? And it's like damn near the same culture.
Ukraine and Russia?
Yeah.
Almost.
And it's like damn near the same culture. But then you have people
Same
really... Same ancestry. Because if this was the USSR still, then it would still be the same region, right?
Yeah.
Like, it just becomes it becomes this thing, what you were talking about, like individuality. They kind of use the individuality to kind of now bring in what they want to bring in.
But you want individuality.
How?
As a whole. As Georgia, we want to be individual as Georgia. We have our own language, we have our own culture, we are our own thing, we are individual country. We don't want to be part of USSR, we don't want to be part of Russia, we don't want to be seen as, it's similar to this, right? No, it's individual, it's different. But within the country, it's a strong community, it's a strength, right? Where you stand together. But that's what USSR wanted, I think, all over to begin with, to have one big power of individual strength against Western country, like America, just to be big enough, But in this big thing, he had Georgia, he had all these countries that are so different from each other. We don't even speak the same language,
I mean, I'm sure. Because I can't say I know what Eastern European history really is, but I'm sure that there's a commonality between all the Eastern European countries, right? Even the languages, I'm sure if you can trace the history of those languages, there's a mother tongue between all
Georgian.
of them. Not Georgian?
It's very unique, and there's so much studies, and they're still trying to find what's the base of Georgian language, which one of the first writings come from 3rd century, 5th century, 1st century. There's some things, but then Georgian language changed 3 times, but none of them are Cyrillic, where Russian, Ukrainian, Slovakian, Polish, these are... they're Cyrillic languages. They write in Cyrillic language. You can see it, you can read it, but Georgian completely different. Nobody in the whole world has anything similar to Georgian language. Only people who were born and raised there can speak it, and you cannot really learn it. It's too complicated.
It's like Chinese.
You can learn Chinese.
But you can't learn Georgian. Like if I my
I
life
feel like
depended
maybe
on
not
it.
that many people have attempted to because they don't have a reason to. Why would you want to learn Georgian?
Well, most people don't even know Georgia or
What?
Georgian
They
is
don't
a
know what
country.
Georgia
Georgia's a
is.
country.
They think it's just,
Exactly. They're like,
US.
wait, your name is Tatia from Georgia?
They call
Like,
you
no.
Tatia?
Tatia.
Tatia?
Yeah.
How's your name spelled?
Tatia. Oh, I got Tatia too.
Tasha?
Tatia.
Tatia.
Wait, what? Spell it?
Yeah.
Tatia. Tatia.
Tatia.
Oh yeah.
Man,
I think people are just stupid.
Whatever.
But Warrior Zeal Bukande is asking a lot of questions. So I'm going to try and go through these as fast as possible. This will be the last one because we are going to we got to move into rapid fire cuz we're getting up there. So man,
Are you
This-
skipping
this-
questions right now?
I'm skipping because I'm like I feel
Okay. Choose wisely.
yeah, I'm going to choose the last one.
He should have chosen wisely when he was asking, but
Yeah,
you gotta
I
do the
mean,
job now.
So
That's that Georgie.
I know exactly. You're like, fuck that. Yeah, just pick one. When is the next alignment, and can it be used to reverse the current world order? The
That's
next,
not a bad question at all.
the next alignment is in. Okay, so it takes about 1,461 years for that alignment to occur. So when you deduct 423 from 1,461, I'm not going to try and do that in my head because I want to give you the exact number. So 1461 minus 423, you're looking at 1,038 years from now. That's in terms of like one farmer's year, so that's like 365 days. That means 1,000, hold on, let's divide it. 1,038 divided by 365. So that means like in a very like at least a very long time,
We won't be here.
like
Don't worry about it.
I mean, our descendants might be here, like, you know. So you never know. I would say, if we want to really reverse course, it would be the time is now.
You start putting in the ground.
Like you start planting the seeds now. So I don't know. I would say that it's better to kind of bank on now and work to do it now, because I mean there's a lot of people that have a lot of tools and a lot of shit that they don't want the rest of the world to have, because if the rest of the world gets it, then the playing field becomes level. And with that being said, a word from our sponsor before we get into rapid fire, and that is Sauce Hot Sauce. Began in 2007. By the way, last week when Bazati read this, he read this so spirited. I don't know. Would you like to read the
Sure.
sponsor thing? Because I know you would do it in such a wonderful way, but you can just read it.
All of it?
Yeah, please.
SAAS?
Sauce.
Oh, we call it sauce.
Yeah,
Oh.
sauce.
Sauce. Hot sauce.
Yeah, no. Sauce.
Okay, so SAS Hot Sauce began in 2007 when a small group of students traveling in West Africa were trying to think of ways to support charitable projects. One of the students traveling happened to be an artisanal hot sauce chef, and right there, SAS Hot Sauce was born. Since then, SAS Hot Sauce has prided itself on making exceptional artisan hot sauce with high quality ingredients to support good causes. We continue to do this with the best and tastiest offering of the sauce flavors to date, with a focus on supporting displaced families in the Fara Ngurma region of Burkina Faso with revenue from our sales.
Yeah.
Okay?
It was great. We're going to drop the...
Nigga money, hey.
Nigga money higher.
Okay. I like this episode.
Rapid fire.
What's rapid fire?
Okay, so rapid
Wrapping it up?
rapid fire is okay. So, oh man, I'm so sorry. That was
Was
hilarious.
that funny?
Yeah, it was hilarious.
It caught me off guard.
It caught me off guard. Yeah. So,
I'm musical. I told you this whole time. I've been saying I'm very musical.
So rapid fire is a segment of the show where we're given a minute and 30 seconds to touch on a current event. So they're gonna hit us with various current events.
Who's they?
Our producer. He's gonna hit us with a current event, and then we're just gonna give our take on it.
I see.
So the floor is open to the three of us.
I see,
Whoever
I see,
hits
I
it first is gonna give their take, and then if we have more time, then the next person will try and give their take, and we'll just hit it.
Gotcha.
So, Kenny Bashu, without further ado, the floor is yours.
Ujjayi, everyone. Mute you guys. Okay, so first up, rapid fire. Renting a family in Japan. This is a very
Renting a family? What do you say?
Renting a family,
families.
It might be
This
better
is
if you
a
take your
really
headphones off.
interesting topic. So basically there's a service in Japan where people rent family members. There's a set of actors that you can rent their presence to be in your home or go with you to like a family function, maybe a funeral, maybe a wedding, something like that. Or there's even situations where people just get it to see what it might be like to be married or like to have children.
It's awful.
Some clients need a family member or a guest to accompany them to ceremonies and gatherings. Others hire the actors as friends to go to events or spend holidays with. Some simply want to try it out, just to see what it would be like.
So it sounds like everyone is so lonely and depressed in Japan that like the thing that they're resorting to is renting a family, because would that happen in Georgia?
Hell no. The fact that there's a full service, something that we can find that they do this.
Well, it's in Japan.
It's shameful.
It's not
It's
here.
a shame.
It's Japan.
No, the fact that we see this information here, that it's already on such a broad level that we have access to. This is not even something they're hiding. Like quickly, hey, do you know somebody that I can pretend to have as my family? It's an actual service. That's horrible.
Well, it's
sad.
It's the gays' fault.
It's also genius. That's funny. But
This is roughly around $150 to $300 for just a few hours a day.
What?
like US.
Yeah, I mean that's a decent
Wow.
price for any kind of rental, whatever you
Decent
want to
price?
rent.
I mean,
yeah, if
sign
you
me
want to
up.
rent
Are they hiring?
I know. I'm about to move to Japan.
I'm
Yeah.
down. Like,
Bro,
dude,
we're not gonna get hired.
Yeah, they're not gonna.
They want their, wait,
No
they,
Japanese are gonna- oh no Negro, no.
they might need an American friend that just came from here. You know,
And they would
there's
hire
a role
you.
for
Yeah,
everyone.
yeah.
They would
You
hire
would get
you.
hired first before
Yeah,
the
you
two
get
of
hired
us.
I get
before
hired
we
as
would
a
get
DJ,
hired.
as a,
Yeah, I mean, no one's gonna hire. No one goes to Japan to hire brown and black people to hang out with them.
maybe that's their plot, though. You don't know.
Oh yeah, that's true. You never
Maybe.
know until you
It's-
go.
it's like-
right?
I will
It's
say this
It's
though.
like you're acting, yeah.
I will say this though. It's genius for Japan. It's
Yeah,
genius.
genius.
Because they have the highest suicide rate, right?
I thought it was Korea.
That
No, I think
makes
it's
it
Japan.
worse, though.
It was
That
Korea.
makes you want to kill yourself even
was
more.
Seoul.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's how it is though. Like everything over there.
What, renting a family makes you want to kill yourself
Of
more?
course. You come home and you still go to bed alone at night, and you don't have anybody to
you
cuddle
just
with.
you rent people to cuddle.
So cuddling is what saves
I
you
don't
from
think that's
suicide.
included. Is it included? Can you check that?
It could be. Okay.
There's another service in China where you can like order a cuddler.
Okay, so it's like a short-term, long-term lease of a family.
So what's the difference between like you renting a family and then a hooker?
This probably isn't. I mean, if they pay enough.
Because just because you don't have sex?
Yeah.
But it may be
Who said,
included. Depends
who
on what
said
service
you
you
don't
get.
have sex?
I don't know. It's true.
They never said that.
Maybe they're like, they like want to live out like an inbred fantasy.
But also that sucks, not just for them, but like to have to pay for sex. Sucks.
To pay for sex? I mean, I don't know.
Oh my god, I don't know either.
I've never ventured down that road because I mean, why would you pay for sex when you can go get?
All right, this is getting weird. Next topic. Mexican Congress has unveiled 2 dead aliens that are allegedly 1,000 years old. So, UFO
It's an evil world we live in.
claims to show 2 alien corpses to Mexico's Congress.
Man, those aliens look like the aliens from Independence Day. When,
Bro.
no, not the aliens from Independence Day. The aliens from Men in Black. When they opened up that guy's head, and then there was like that small alien there, and it was like,
Doesn't it look like from the movie IT with the finger?
like E.T.
Yeah,
E.T.?
E.T.
I.T. Yeah.
It's exactly the same look. Short, flat.
Yeah, just
You know what it is
Come
for
on,
me?
man. You
I
coulda
feel like
done
they're
better.
insulting people's intelligence
Yeah.
at this point. Because, really? Like, I can't even find the words to say. It's like, really, bro? Really?
I mean,
They
you're gonna
should
tell
maybe
me it's
really
1,000
go
years old?
about it if they want people to believe it. Yeah, like go inside the pieces and do the scans and do the actual scientifical, like X-rays and stuff that people actually know and believe, and like hundreds or even thousands of scientists go about that in their archaeological research when they find the bodies and the bones. They should do that and show that proof.
They're not going to do that, though. It's a distraction
not.
Yeah.
from something else.
And because they're not, fuck them.
once the government is like, look, aliens, we have aliens, then like there's some real shit going on that they're trying to distract you from.
Oh yeah.
Because there's no reason for them to pull this out of their ass at this point.
And
Yeah.
it was Mexico, too, bro.
Exactly.
Like,
Bro,
Mexico.
when has
really?
Mexico ever been on the cutting edge of any type of scientific advancements? And then now you're telling us it's Mexico?
That
The
some guy
fuck outta
held on
here.
to this thing for a
Yeah.
really long time.
The
Didn't
fuck
tell
outta
anybody.
here.
Right.
So, next up, still out in space. NASA has reportedly found a way to generate oxygen on Mars. So,
Bullshit.
we have, what's this thing called? The MOXIE. The Mars Oxygen In Situ
Moxygen?
Resource Utilization Experiment, better known as MOXIE, was one of the many advancements and experiments on the Perseverance rover, which landed on Mars in 2021. During its time on the red planet, the microwave oven-sized device generated oxygen from the carbon dioxide in the air 16 times. It was able to produce molecular oxygen by an electrochemical process that separates one oxygen atom from each molecule of carbon dioxide from Mars' thin
You done?
atmosphere, stated NASA.
Are you moving
I'm
to
done.
Are you moving to Mars?
We really need another planet to destroy.
Thank you. Drop the bomb.
I mean, the thing is like, don't you find it interesting that like the so-called like scientists at NASA and all that shit, they're always talking about shit that you can't prove.
And they use these very scientific big words because
Exactly.
they know majority of people are going to read that and be like, oh, well, they're experts. They know what they're talking about.
And then they just shut off their brain.
Right.
It's like you're just like, well, whatever. It's obviously beyond me.
Bro, like, it's clearly BS. Like, clear this up.
If they have power to do that, they definitely have somebody there. They can record it and take a video and put it viral. Why don't they do that? Why don't they just show us?
Yeah, but they're not going to.
Thank
Of
you.
course they're not.
Because the
Thank
thing
you.
is, this is, I remember having a conversation with a astrophysicist, and he said, "You remember the moon landing, right?"
Fake.
I wasn't there, but
Yeah, I mean, none of us were there, right? But you remember the moon landing, right?
I wasn't watching when it happened.
Yeah, but you know, like
seen
how it
it.
was like in the '60s, right?
Yeah.
So at the
69,
time-
exactly.
So at the time, it's like vinyl, right? Or vinyl, right? It's like at the time they were using film, okay? For any of my photographers out there, what happens if you take film and put it through the X-ray machine? Anyone? Does anyone
I
know?
don't
Oh,
know.
through X-ray.
Does anyone know what happens when you take film and put it through an X-ray machine?
I don't know.
The radiation kills it.
Ooh.
So if you can't do that at the airport, right? That's at the airport with the most minor aspect of radiation. It's just an X-ray machine. You're telling me you can take film and put it through the Earth's atmosphere
Well,
and it won't destroy the film?
Sen, it was alien technology. You wasn't listening?
I mean, obviously, I wasn't. It's alien technology. They filmed it on alien film.
Yeah, they filmed on alien
they filmed
film.
it on Mars.
Anti-radiation
on-
film.
yeah, just stop lying to us, man. Like, stop insulting our intelligence.
Yeah.
Next.
All right. Last insult to your intelligence. Possible life on another planet.
Oh,
So,
fuck you.
Pick
data
these
from
today.
the
Fuck you,
James
NASA.
Webb Space Telescope has shown that an exoplanet around the star in the constellation Leo has some of the chemical markers
How
that
far
on
is it?
Earth are associated with the
Who
living
went there?
organization.
Who went
Okay,
there?
minus all the details of all the more scientific bullshit. Do you guys just believe it or not?
No.
No, absolutely
Do
not.
you believe it?
I'm open to believing it
Well,
because I just know that there's so many galaxies, like the Milky Way galaxy.
yeah, but the thing
There's
is,
so
is
many
like, how do we
suns.
know?
We don't. But
Yeah, that's
the
just based
thing.
on what they're
but
telling
then that's
us,
a
right?
believing. It's like more like a faith.
So then
or
let me
just
ask you
being
this.
open to it.
What if I said that none of those fucking galaxies exist? And what if I said none of those suns exist? And we're
No,
the
then
only,
you tripping.
And
on
then
that.
if I say we're the only life, if we're the only life in the universe, does that make you feel more optimistic? Or does that make you feel
It makes
like
me
fuck?
not like you and not want to talk to you anymore.
Well, I didn't say it was me. I didn't say it was me. I'm just saying,
No,
hypothetically.
of course we know that there's planets out there. There's galaxies. I do 100,000% believe that.
But how do you
I
know?
haven't been
Have
there.
you been there?
No, but it's not like it's just the one person telling you, and it's like one dominating.
But who's telling us?
Well, I was there last
But
night.
there's
Where were you?
there's the
I
stars.
was-
I
was-
see
I
it
was in the
myself.
stars.
Fuck out of here. What?
I was sleeping.
Get the fuck out of here.
You guys have you taken acid before? Now that we're talking about acid.
Oh my god. Okay, I see where you trying I see where you trying to take it. Okay. Yeah, Tati was like, so since we're on stars, y'all seen the stars
what
lately?
happens. You see that.
Yeah, but how
It's
do you know
there.
that those dimensions aren't on Earth?
What do you
Like
mean
why
they're
do
not on
those
Earth?
why no, I said how do you know those dimensions aren't on Earth? Why do they have to be off the planet? Like if you take acid, right? And then you start seeing other dimensions or you start seeing things from other dimensions.
You
how do you know
don't.
those how do you know those things aren't from
No,
Earth?
you just feel space.
What do
You
you mean
just
by
feel
feel
the
space?
vast,
Yeah, but what do you
the
mean by feel?
vastness of the space, the tiniest thing you are, and how big everything else
so you
around
mean like you get a
And
much
when you
more
do look at the-
macro perspective.
Of course, the biggest perspective of all. And
Yeah.
once you look at the stars, you don't see it as one sky and bunch of stars. You actually can tell the space between the stars, between each other, how deep one is, and how you see them also in dimension of how like in placement they are. You know, it's a beautiful thing because you actually feel the space, and there's planets. You feel how vast it is. I don't need any side.
Well, what if I
Okay.
said there's no outer space, but there's inner space?
I have a really nice poem for you guys.
Go for it.
I have to look it up.
Oh, okay.
Give me
I
a
thought you were gonna say it like right now for us.
I almost know it, but I don't want to miss a word. It's very
Hold
important,
on.
and it's
Use
from
a different page because I want to keep the lizard thing that you were telling me about.
also.
Yeah.
Yes. This poem I discovered, and it's one of the deepest thing I've read that connects to pretty much everything else that I experience and don't experience in my life. It connects to everything. It connects to everything.
But how do
And
you-
it's by Walt Whitman. You know?
Yeah, pull it up. Because I'm trying to. Huh?
Walt Whitman, the drug dealer?
No, not Walter White. Walt Whitman. Walter White is the fucking protagonist from Breaking Bad.
You know, I've never watched that show.
He's got Discoveries too. He did Discoveries, right?
Oh.
He made that.
Are you talking about? Have you seen Breaking Bad?
I've never watched
I've
that
seen, I've
show,
seen.
honestly.
I've seen.
I think I'm the only person that have never watched that show.
Just never seen. No, you're not. There's a lot of people out there that have never seen Breaking Bad.
Really?
Okay, are you ready?
Yeah, we're ready. Go for it.
When I heard the learned astronomer, when the proofs, the figures were arranged in columns before me, when I was shown the charts and the diagrams to add, divide, and measure them, when I sitting heard the astronomer where he lectured with much applause in the lecture room, how soon unaccountable I became, tired and sick, till rising and gliding out, I wandered off by myself in the mystical moist night air, and from time to time looked up in the perfect silence at the stars. Don't
you
need
s-
all that
who-
Oh,
who
wait,
did
that
you
was
say
it?
wrote that? Who wrote that poem you said?
I was like waiting.
Walt Whitman.
Walt Whitman.
He
Breaking Bad.
no,
No, it's not
but
Breaking Bad.
he's the biggest thing he's written is Song of Myself, and I would say that, as you know, it connects to acid in a way of what it's not about, like I'm not saying he did acid or anything like that, but the way of thinking,
how
the
do you know?
selflessness and not having ego and belonging to earth in a way that nobody else talked about, belonging to earth in a way that he did. And that little tiny poem right there explains that too. You don't need charts and scientists and charts and diagrams and all these proofs and oxygens on Mars. Just look up in the sky.
It's true.
All I need.
It's true. It's true. Fuck NASA. Fuck those charts. Fuck those. Fuck those. Fuck all of that shit.
Yeah.
Walt Whitman, bitch.
All right.
Next topic.
We have
Next
more?
up.
Yeah, let's keep going.
Let's get through these quick. So, Niger versus France and croissants. So we know that there's like a coup going on in Niger, and basically there's a video that's circulating online where there's a military police officer basically stopped the car, and the vehicle was found with very large amounts of croissants, which was said to
Large
be
amount of what? Sorry.
Croissants.
Oh, croissant.
Yeah,
for
croissant.
the employees of the French embassy. So they're trying to like smuggle like this French import that's like technically not supposed to be there anymore into Niger.
Well, because they cut off the water and they cut off the electricity to the French embassy. Because they're trying, the Niger, there was a coup d'etat, and they're trying to overthrow the colonial superpower. And so they're trying to kick France out. So they cut off the electricity and the water to the French embassy, like, hey, get out of our country. And France won't leave. And so they found a truck filled with croissants.
That got really funny after you explaining it to me.
So, yeah, I mean, you know, I hope that the Nigerians enjoyed those croissants.
They should tax them.
Tax croissants.
Tax the
Tax the
croissants.
croissant sellers.
It'll be
Well,
like
they're
the
trying to
Boston.
kick them out.
It would be like the Boston Tea Party all
Yeah,
over
it is the
again.
Boston
Like
Tea
how
Party.
dare you?
But like reversed. Yeah, because it's not American. I mean, it's not African. It's French.
Wow.
The French. There's some French people right now pissed off.
But is croissant still French?
Yeah, they're French.
They're
Even the
still-
word croissant.
But even if they live and you guys know how to make it, just make it. It's yours now.
It's not their croissants. It's croissants that were going to the French embassy.
Oh, it was going to the embassy.
Yeah, it was going to the embassy. So they got the truck, and then they're like, you're not allowed to have these croissants.
You know they ate all.
No, they probably burned them.
No, they definitely ate it.
All right, next up, COVID news. So the FDA
That's
signs
still
off
going?
on update.
I mean, not COVID. I mean, croissants.
Yeah, I want a croissant. Butter croissant
signs off.
sounds good right there.
Almond croissants are the best. Can we skip this topic?
Come on,
please?
guys.
Yeah, like, I don't even
FDA
want
signs
to.
off
Yeah.
on an update to COVID-19 vaccines that target a circulating variant. As of September 14, 2023, the FDA approval and CDC recommendations apply the mRNA vaccines from Pfizer, BioNTech, and Moderna. Another vaccine from Novavax is currently under FDA review. The updated COVID vaccine approved by the FDA this week is based on a variant called XBB 1.5. It will be the only COVID vaccine that is available this fall. With this updated COVID vaccine, we're back to what we call a monovalent vaccine, meaning that there's only one component, where previously there was a bivalent COVID vaccine where there were two.
All I gotta say is I fucked up royally when I didn't buy stock in these companies that are generating these vaccines.
Right.
Because
Right.
when the world was falling apart, I should have bought stock in all of these so-called vaccine companies so that I could just, be rich right now and then be benefiting from the stock rising from all the financial gains that are going to come from all these so-called vaccines.
XBB 1.5 sounds like a Final Fantasy game.
It is like a Final Fantasy. It sounds like something that you would figure out while you're on acid.
Oh man, I can't believe that it's still going on.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get to the next topic, but I just wanted to point out that Warrior Zul Bukande is just Kim Warrior with a new name.
Is it? Did he say that?
It's the same. The icon is the same. You can tell that it's him.
Oh, so it's just Camp Warrior. They just said Warrior.
He took our
Zulbakande?
advice from last week. We told him to get a new account.
Oh, yeah, but then he kept the same picture.
Give it the same picture.
Yeah, you just told him to get a new account. It's extra work.
Okay, let's get to the next topic. So, next topic: New York Police Department spy drones, NYPD spy drones. So, New Yorkers are pretty mad because there's a report that's been put out that the NYPD is going to be deploying drones to spy on Labor Day barbecues.
Not
Why?
only.
That's not new, bro.
Bro, if you're
I'm
just
gonna tell
mad
you
because
that's
you're not
new.
invited to the barbecue, just say so.
I think they're
That's
gonna
not
just
new.
be able to spy, or they want to spy on any parties that's outdoors, that's they're playing loud music, and if the decibel goes above a certain level, then they have right to go in there and break the party down and find the people who threw the party. So I'm just wondering if this drone's gonna be like all up in your window on like a 20th floor, just pulling up.
Do you live
just
on the
seeing,
20th floor?
I work on 20th floor, but yeah, if they're gonna be just really watching anywhere through the air, whatever you do in my little tiny backyard that I have, or is this just barbecue things, or they're gonna just spy anywhere into your apartments. Because what if
But
there's
they're
a
already
loft
doing
party?
that, though.
What if there's a
it's not
loft
new.
party?
Yeah, they're already
It's
doing
not
all
new.
that
It's
stuff.
not new at all.
But have
Everything
you,
is under surveillance. Everything. They go through our phones. They go through our emails. They go through our everything.
True.
Like they're already
I guess
doing
maybe
that.
they're just making it more official.
I mean, they're
that
just
we're
being
doing it.
honest about it. Yeah,
So,
just like we're spying on you.
I grew up in the 50s. Shout out to the 50s Mandem, right?
You grew up in the
The
50s.
50 no the when we say 50s we mean like 50s in like Flatbush, like 50s man know what I mean. Shout out to the 50s man one more time. So growing up in the 50s, right? I would go outside and then there would be cars that we clearly know as the D's.
It's the feds.
We know it's the D's. We know who they are.
Yeah.
So one time I caught them taking pictures of me. And they're taking pictures of me because I know they know me by being affiliated with certain people. I'm not gonna name this guy's name, but he told me and a couple other people that when they booked him for a certain situation, they brought him into a room, right?
Yeah.
And in the room, they kind of gave him like an ultimatum. They were like, "Listen, we don't really want you because you're kind of like a small fry in all of this, but we want like people that you're technically affiliated
Yeah, they want
with.
a big fish.
They want the big fish." They showed him a whole page or a board with everybody from the hood's picture and dots connecting.
Like in the
who's
movies.
who, what is what.
Just like in the movies.
Bro, they've been spying. Like, it's not new.
it's not
So
new.
it's nothing new. Like, it's
So,
just...
the Surveillance Technology Oversight Project Executive Director Albert Fox Khan told Gizmodo, which is the website that we got this information from, even before those drones got off the ground, the NYPD already broke the law, violating the 2020 POST Act, which requires public notice and comment before launching new surveillance programs. So, chalk it up to the good old American ways of breaking the law,
America.
and disguising yourself as
Yeah.
the right side. All right, so this one's gonna be a little dark. Maybe
Tati
Tatia might
loves the dark
take this
shit.
one up. Yeah. So I don't know if you guys have heard of Dr. Alfred Kinsley, but he's being named the godfather of pedophilia.
I heard about this. Yeah.
So
Of what?
Of pedophilia.
Pedophilia.
What?
So
And why? Okay.
basically, this guy was.
So interesting.
He's like what
Tell
you
me
could
more.
call like a lying scientist, like a fake scientist.
Yeah.
And basically, what he did was he founded these experiments on sexuality. So before this, he was a zoologist, right? So he based his whole theory on the fact
On
that
animals. Animal studies, yeah.
sexual encounters should be the model for human sexual encounters.
Okay,
So he took a bunch of people, right, of different ages, various ages, children as well, and conducted these sexual experiments. And through those experiments, he ended up coming up with philosophies and ideologies that have sort of formed what we see now as like our understanding of sexuality today. He's sort of championed for it in a certain way by the institutions. If you look up his name, there's nothing but good things like they have to say about how he's changed the way that we look at sexuality.
Sorry, well, I'm missing the point here. What is the point of this guy? Like, he's making all these researches from animals, translating into humans and human sexual life. But like, what is the catch here?
So according to Paul Robinson, which is one of his biographers who wrote about his life, his work was designed to undermine the traditional sexual order. Right?
With the age limit, you mean? Is this the age limit they're trying to break here, or what?
No, there was no age limit to his work. There were children involved. There were infants involved. Like
Infants?
babies.
All right, come on, bro.
He even said that children, from the moment that they're born, they can have an orgasm.
No.
Exactly. So
I love the way you're just like, no.
his agenda, his very amoral agenda, was to change society's traditional moral values.
I think I saw an Instagram clip of this guy, right?
I don't think you can. Well, but why are we going back to sex here? I think you were the one who cut us off from sex topic, and you're like, oh, this is getting weird. Let's change the subject, and here we are again. If a woman, when a girl has her first period, her cycle starts, she's free to have sex. I think. I mean, you call it pedophilia or not. At 13 years old, you know, it's common in a lot of countries for a female to have sex and to have a baby at 13 and 14, and it's physically okay, then sure. Then the country is giving you all these rules and okay, it's 18 or it's 21 or it's 17 or it's 25, then the country is doing that. But physically and like
biologically,
naturally, like if you get your period, then you're ready. And as a male, if you're aroused, you're ready. There's no other way about it, right? Like that's physical way about it. That's natural, no? I'm all about like earth and being natural with it. You understand that point? That's okay.
I think the problem becomes when he's
When a
not talking
60-year-old
about, he's
yeah.
talking more like a 6-year-old little girl, like an 8-year-old little girl, an 11-year-old little girl.
That's underage, obviously,
Yeah.
because no 6-year-old has period.
Right.
You know? Yeah. So that's my point of view. If you have your period, I think worldwide it's okay to have sex.
I mean, that's the time it starts.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think so. I think personally, I think it's young, but from worldwide view, I think it's okay, because if your body is able to start the cycle and you're able to bear a child, then I think your body's able to do it, then fine. But I don't think personally it's okay. I would not want my child or any of my like nieces or anything to do anything like that at 12. But if your body's able to do it, then
That sounds so contradictory.
No, it's
Like,
not.
you
It's
sound-
not.
You just said like, okay, it's fine, and then you're like, but not my nieces.
I mean, there's so many contradictory things you can say like that. Like, okay, should we just drink, 5 bottles of tequila right now? I mean, it's okay. Like, physically, we can take it,
God
but
damn.
should we?
No, we're
I
gonna
can't.
die.
No, we shouldn't.
Yeah, I'm
you know,
gonna
like
die.
it's kind of like that. Like you have a knowledge about
5
something that.
bottles of tequila. God damn,
that's
Tatia.
true.
Like, what kind of raves do you go to?
That's the DJ.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, something physically is one thing, and second thing as moral or social thing is another thing. And yes, you can contradict yourself, but as I said,
Well, I think that one closes that one, because none of us have periods or vaginas, so we can't respond.
Yeah, I mean, I can't comment on that because I don't have a vagina.
Next up, we're almost done. We only got 2 left. These are a little bit more funny. Welcome to Nebraska, where we take our cows on a joyride. So there was a man driving down the street at a Crown Victoria in Nebraska
It's like a
with
police
a
car.
cow, a
Crown
fully
Vic.
grown cow in the passenger seat. So the police got the call about this, and they heard that it was a cow in the passenger seat in a car, and they thought that they were going to pull the guy over and there was going to be a calf in the car, like a baby cow. But they find the car driving,
We gotta
and
pull
it's
this
a
up.
fully grown cow, super huge horns.
Bull, not
Yeah,
even a cow.
bull,
It's
exactly.
a bull. A Watusi bull.
Oh, you did your
A what?
research.
It's an African bull.
and then
in Nebraska,
what happened?
bro.
What happened? Did he find him? Is it legal?
Wait,
Is
what?
it not legal? What happened? Is he sitting in the front seat or? Because like you
cops
can't
let
have
him go.
11-year-old boy in a front seat, but can you have a cow in a front seat?
Yeah, the cops pulled him over. Hey, okay, nice, and then they let him go.
They're like, oh, this is fun. Let me take a selfie.
Exactly.
Well, the cow or the bull was pooping all over the whole entire.
And he's got the horns in the
Yeah.
front too of the
Right.
car. Wow. This is not a regular cow. He deserves like a limo. Wow.
All right, last topic for the night, people. You ready? Got
You
milk?
forgot, what was the cow's name? The bull's name?
I don't know
Howdy
his
doody.
name.
Howdy Doody?
Howdy doody.
Did you send this?
All right, last topic. Got milk. Woman breastfeeds her husband since 2017. That's 6 years, people. So, there's a couple. This woman's name is Rachel. She says that she had forgotten her breast pump.
I'm going to turn off our mics because I
cruise.
just want to hear Tati's take on this.
She had forgotten her breast pump for a while on a cruise back in 2017, resulting in her breast being badly engorged. Engorgement is when you have milk producing and there's no baby to drink it. So in turn, she had her husband Alexander, and he started to drink her breast milk. And since then, she has been featured on television shows for doing this, what she calls just a natural thing, which is a natural liquid milk coming from a human, and it's not hurting anyone. She says that she's come out about it to help others who are also doing it, not to feel alone.
You know where I think that stems from? If a man wants to do that, they have mommy issues.
Breast milk.
They have mommy issues, and the woman who's doing it, they're like, oh, my baby. Oh, my baby. You know?
But there's an actual baby.
But
Because
where's the
he's a baby. Because he has mommy issues, and he's probably feels stuck as an infant or as a young self who never grew up.
Breast milk.
You know,
It's more than a fetish, I think. You know, it's
I think
more
it
than
makes
that.
sense though in a way.
Yeah, I
Hear
think
me out.
so.
Hear me out. Hear me out. If we drink cow's milk,
I'm about to turn off your mic.
if we drink cow's milk, does it not make sense to drink human milk too?
Absolutely. You know, somebody asked me, they're like,
It
oh,
makes
you're
sense.
vegan? You're not going to feed your child milk? And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Of course I'm going to give my child my milk. My milk is vegan for them. Cow's milk is not vegan because what I produce for human that's for them. Cow's milk is not for me. No other animal goes to another animal for their milk. Huh? 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 Huh?
I mean, I was...
Nobody.
Look,
Only humans. Only humans are sick like that to go under a cow or a goat and drink their milk. No.
This just went left.
But human drinking human milk, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, but the problem is like, are we gonna like take all the women and just put them in factories and
would
like
you drink
start
your
pumping
mom's
them?
breast milk right now?
No, because I don't have mommy issues. But if I did, I probably would have that thing where like, or maybe if not my mom's, because it would be really awkward, maybe I would have to find a woman or a girl who would feed me her breast milk because I wouldn't be able to do it with her. It's true.
So you're saying like you would drink another woman's breast
I'm not
milk?
saying I personally would, but if I was the kind of person who was mentally in a state where I like the guy who is drinking his wife's milk, he's in state of mind, right? Like,
But hold
if
on,
you're
but-
in that state of mind,
But you would do all that instead of drinking cow milk? What would you drink first?
versus one
Yeah,
versus
what would
another,
you
it's
drink
completely
first?
different thing because cow doesn't really feed your mommy issues.
So then, what kind of issues do you think it feeds if you drink cow's milk?
I don't think.
I just want to hear your psychological profile.
Sure. I'm all about this. The issues that cow's milk feeds, none. It only gives more issues.
No. I'm saying, what's the psychological profile of somebody that drinks cow's milk? If you drink it, I don't know. I don't even know how to formulate this, but like if you drink your partner's milk,
and then that means you have mommy issues.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of psychological profile to you does it mean if you
To drink cow's milk?
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you mean. Ooh, oh, maybe. I don't know. I've never thought about this. It's very interesting. Maybe everybody that drinks milk, cow milk, mostly because everybody mostly drinks cow's milk, has mommy issues.
You think so?
And they're escaping to the cows.
So then what about
I don't think
goat
I have
milk?
mommy issues.
No?
No.
What about goat milk?
Then I don't know. I don't drink cow's milk.
But what's the psychological profile of somebody that drinks almond milk? They have daddy issues?
No, it's
Why?
just
'Cause
that
it's
is
from a seed.
I think we need to turn the camera off and just keep talking, but turn the camera. I think we just got used to something creamy and milky from when we were really, really, really tiny and
So then
cute,
wouldn't it
and
be-
it tasted
then
good,
would it
and we
not
just are
be-
not ready to detach from it.
So then would it not be, you know what? This has been another episode of the Gated Gates podcast. We appreciate you for tuning in. We hope you continue to tune in. And we very much appreciate our guest, Tati. We will get all the links and everything where you can find Tati and everything she's doing, including the street cleaning, including the dirty dancing, including all of that stuff. And we'll make sure that that's in the description for you guys to find that. It's been another episode of the Gated Gates podcast. We appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we hope you guys continue to tune in.
Open enrollment.
Open enrollment is happening in New Jersey right now for the initiation process. So for the next few weeks, we're going to have the doors of initiation open. And what that means is that... I'm sorry, I can't get over this. What that means
I don't
is
think anybody wants
for
to
the-
initiate.
what that means is when during the open enrollment period, you can enroll in the initiation, and it's a no obligation financially unless you can choose to continue through the initiation. So that's going to be open for the next 3 weeks. Classes are 11 a.m. on Sundays. Come check it out. And yeah, we'll be back with you guys next week. Big shout out to Tati and everything. And we'll be back with you guys next week. Idiadu.
Peace.
Yeah.